CMP officers, and that his wife was manhandled in March when police stopped him for an expired license plate outside the casino in Fort McMurray. Indigenous Services Minister Ross Miller said in a tweet that he's spoken twice with Adam last weekend, and that he was disturbed by what the chief told him. Adam is facing charges of resisting arrest and assaulting police, and RCMP say officers need to use force during the arrest.
Hey, YouTube, you need to make this chat thing beep or ding or something. We don't know someone's talking to us.
The last known COVID-19 infected person in the country's recovered, says New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. She says she's confident the spread stopped, also because it's been 17 days since the last new case was reported, while 40,000 have been tested in that time. And it's the first time since late February that there have been no active cases. As the next phase of reopening happens, New Zealand continues isolation and quarantine at its borders.
680 News
indicator never works.
This is 680 News.
Once at every 50 videos it might work.
As Empro predicted, the price of gas didn't budge at midnight, holding at $1.09 a liter at most GTA stations. 680 News time, 3:10.
Your home is your sanctuary.
Hey, there's somebody behind you.
If you need repairs or replacements,
Look out.
Home Comfort
The last thing I see is I was dying. Oh,
we're taking every precaution to keep you safe, and we're ready to
check
help
the
with deferred
timestamps.
payments and no interest for 18 months on featured air conditioners. And as always, you can count on
so what did they cover in the last 10 minutes? George Floyd's funeral. Fuck, look for the next hour, right? George Floyd's funeral.
Financing OAC, interest accrues from end of deferred period. Conditions apply. See website for details.
Next to his mom.
680 News time, 3:11. Time for traffic and weather together on the 129 your drive. Here's Michael Ranger.
We'll still just looking at ramp closures.
Looking at defunding the New York police force. Defunding the New York police force. I'm in comments about it for 50 years.
No access to the highway from northbound Highway 25. Northbound southbound Mississauga road ramps to the highway, they are closed. No access to Dixie Road. Transfer into the collectors at Allen, that is shut down. Transfer into the express at the 404
I'm really hoping it's Monday. Don't laugh at me.
Southbound Port Slope ramp to the east 401, that was closed. That one has now reopened. Looking at the westbound 401, no access to the highway from southbound Morningside. Ramps to Nielsen closed, northbound Markham Road ramps onto the highway shut down. Ramps to McCowan from the west 401, that is closed. No access to southbound Allen Road. Southbound Allen Road onto the highway, northbound Duncan ramps onto the highway. They are both closed. If you're traveling southbound on the 400,
try bunning it up now to get caught.
There, no access onto the highway from westbound Finch. No access to the southbound 404.
Try to get that shit repaired. I don't know what that fucking plastic
on the 427 transfer into the express at Dundas shut down.
They're not gonna, oh, I know you are. They're gonna, oh, that's real. We can fix all of it down there. As soon as you're gone and they got the keys to the car, you're done, buddy.
Forecast, here's Malia Shake.
You gotta think the guy's watching my videos now. Well, that's what I have.
A daytime high of 26 degrees, warmer than our average high of 23. A nice light breeze from the south up to 20 kilometers an hour in the afternoon, a low of 13. Tuesday, it heats up even more. A daytime high of 30.
And doesn't see, neither of those sounds bad, but 20 kimeters an hour and 13 degrees, that'll get chilly. Oh, because you've been sweating all day. And your body's used to being hot. That'll fuck you up.
Downtown Toronto right now, we're sitting at 14 degrees of clear sky.
Hey, I'm not in sickle cell thing. My legs are not in. Hey, I'm having a good fucking day.
Holy shit, News time, 3:13. If you've got conference calls scheduled between serving lunch, teaching, and working out, we get it.
One big nasty ulcer.
We can make sure your family is protected. RBC Insurance is here to help you get it. Book an insurance check-in at rbcinsurance.com/check-in. The need to protect your home.
You have access to all social services within a 15-minute range. All other trips are voluntary. We change from mandatory mobility to chosen mobility.
So I understood the words that this guy said, but I wasn't quite sure about the meaning. Can you explain it a bit?
The idea is that instead of having a huge city like Paris where everything is concentrated in the city center, and it means that people living in the outskirts are kind of marginalized, the idea would be to divide such big cities in very small cities, like small villages, where you could have access by walking or cycling to all the basic services. It doesn't mean that there will be an opera or a theater in every small village, but then you can also move, but not, as he says, as an act of willing, not because you are imposed. Nowadays, most people are forced to travel very long distances only to access their jobs. And that's the main change.
Victor Fletcher been saying this for fucking
that
decades.
sounds pretty comfortable and cozy, actually, these little villages.
The apartment you can afford is at one end of the city. The job you can get is on the other end. And they fucking mail you on the TTC every
issues
fucking
for
day.
expanding biking in some parts of
and show solidarity with anti-racism movements.
Where I live, if I wanted to get a job, I couldn't work here. I would be paying another $150 a month to get the bus pass to go fucking work. What if I only work part-time? Well, then the $150 don't make sense. I would have to spend like 90. I know, it's more than that. I know. On the fucking bus and gas.
I don't buy
No
it
matter
for
which
a
way you
second.
work it out, you
I
get
think
fucked.
Conor McGregor's trying to get you to talk about him, and he just did. What better way to get people to talk about him when there's a spectacular fight filled with people dominating? What he did was just sort of
fuck? Hey, Jesus, buddy, what the fuck? You think you just crying? You're on the outside. That means you crawled right up.
Retirement right after Amanda Nunes defended her featherweight title against Canadian Felicia Spencer last night in convincing fashion. McGregor made the announcement on his personal Twitter account. Bundesliga, 3 matches in total. Cologne and Augsburg drew 1-1, while Schalke and Union Berlin also drew.
Tell us about Dusseldorf.
Picked up the lone victory on the day, flanking Werder Bremen 1-0. While the Spanish league is not ruling out the return of fans to stadiums this season, League President Javier Tebas said he is in favor of having fans back as soon as regions are cleared.
L'eau, c'est vendre.
En fait, vous parliez donc vous souleviez cette question-là. Qu'est-ce qu'on fait une fois qu'on a pris conscience de ça? Ben, ça pose justement la question de la décroissance choisie. Qu'est-ce qu'on veut mettre dans cette décroissance choisie-là, contrairement à la décroissance subie qu'on observe depuis le début de la crise de la COVID-19? Cette semaine, je me suis demandé bêtement, ceux qui prônent la décroissance, que veulent-ils exactement voir décroître? J'ai identifié 2 éléments principaux. Ils veulent voir décroître la production de biens et leur consommation. Et 2, les inégalités.
On a pound LTD traffic report.
Down, got my neighbors all around. From my town, they get around. And it ain't no problem, we do the damn thing. Posted with my BF 59, 50 fitted, all red, everything, and you heard me right. I be swooping and we're hooping all damn night. I do this for my natives, I do this for my natives. You keep on hating, but I'm just demonstrating. I'm just demonstrating the ways I was shown. I was born and bred for the rest, that's why I call it home. You can leave me alone if you don't want problems. Me and my natives, yeah, we always down to solve some. Cool that beef so we can eat and get about the day. I'ma ride, I'ma die, I'ma do it for my natives. I'ma ride for my motherfucking natives. I'ma die with my finger on the trigger. I've been grinding outside all day with my natives. And I ain't going in unless I'm with my native, 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 my motherfucking native, my 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 motherfucking native. Yeah.
Riding for my natives for the duration of my life. Land reservation is the place I wanna find. So you better recognize I'm not stopping till I come until my day of expiration and it hits my end of time. It's one of the expectations that I'm gonna live by. Savage on my death is always represent my time. No more for explanation, you already know why. My natives,
I'ma ride for my motherfucking natives. I'ma die with my finger on the trigger. I've been grinding outside all day with my natives. And I ain't going in unless I'm with my native, 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 my motherfucking native, my native, my native, my native.
So, do you know how you can tell this is a Ram? The license plate? No. If this isn't a Quebecois plate, there's only a couple other plates it could be. And the problem is, the 2 I can think of would be truck plates, and that's not a truck. So, I don't know. I can't see it being an American plate. You're so mad. You're an American up here. You're gonna stand up like a thumb. So I don't think that's an American plate. I'm just speculating.
Drop it, drop it, drop it.
As the city's Cupertino tells us, that is affecting everyone in the loading industry from pickup artists.
the divorce attorneys.
It's the L-O-W-R-Y-C-E.
No, not really.
Make the MC sprees, bitch, believe me. You can only wish to do the
Thanks
things
to
that
the
we do with your
trustees,
six stand
funeral
up.
directors, and grave diggers, and
L-O-W-R-Y-C-E. Make a MC sprees,
oh, of
bitch,
course, you
believe
got
me.
your
You can only wish to do the
tax.
things that we do with 306
You
stand
would
up.
file your
If you
taxes
feel
and
it,
shit.
it's like a movie, how I do steady pursuing this fictional plot. Blistering hot, rhyme up over your pops. Each song is another brick for the fortified wall. United we stand, united we fall. So fuck the wall. I stay ahead of my game, ahead of my time. I feel the drive in my brain. You feel the force in my mind. This gang make it clean, but the end result is every part fucking right comes from my soul. I try my hardest just to lace these tracks with such grace. Often question myself just to see if it's a waste. Test myself sometimes past the limits of control, but do it all at any cost just to go and roll. Me, I gotta do it, and I'm heavily pursuing the stream. But every fucking time I do it, it seems it
I ain't
gleams
put up
past
any
the
of the
bucket
video
point
there.
of observation. Now I'm steadily taking out you faggots that behave. It's the L-O-W-R-Y-C-E. Make your MC sprees, bitch, believe me. You can only wish to do the things that we do with your six stand up if you feel in the mood. It's the
Caddies will be required to wash players' balls and bags and shafts after every round.
If you feel in the mood. No one thought I had skills, but I proved them all wrong. Another sick script for another sick song. Now I'm rolling with the illest crew in all of Saskatoon. Making hits, making tracks, gonna be famous soon. The tightest tracks you heard come from low rise. Gotta please the people's needs, gotta keep their cries. E-Block, Saskatoon, that's a place, that's a dirt. Cause to make it in this game, you can't be insecure. So many people tend to get lost in the tracks, and then nobody helps them and they don't bring it back. But when you hear these tracks, you'll feel right at home. It's for all the underdogs so they won't feel alone. Nevertheless, I put my rhymes to the test. Should I invest in the quest to becoming the best? Dreamcast and Derelict, bringing you another track. So just turn off your genre if it's something you can hack. It's the L-O-W-R-Y-C-E. Make your MCs freeze, bitch, believe me. You can only wish to do the things that we do in 306 stand up if you feel in the mood. It's the L-O-W-R-Y-C-E. Make your MCs freeze, bitch, believe me. You can only wish to do the things that we do in 306 stand up if
Press
you
a
feel in
bit
the
cigarette
mood.
into your fingernail. Tell me what that feels like. Tell me you're gonna hurt me.
Writing 16 bars. There's proof of damage, many scars. Late at night writing under the stars. Fate fades of war, that's why I'm so hardcore. Truth was bound to be sold in stores. Me and Derelict, the definition of evil. Fierce to the feeble, like the tip of a needle, the way my clothes hit people. I take stages, smear ink all over the pages. You want to battle, what the fuck are the wages? I'm serving baseless and violent outrages. Psychologists can't even case this. They say everything I write is tasteless. Ask time if anyone spent time to educate this. Embrace this like I'm running a three-ring circus. Everything I drop is surplus, serving its purpose like the Canadian military service. Got you shaking nervous, like there's a hole in your epidermis. No soul for the words, let's go ahead and say my name, curse it. Couldn't control it, had to disperse it, now my shirt's ripped.
It's the L-O-W-R-Y-C-E. Make your MCs freeze, bitch, believe me. You can only wish to do the things that we do in 306 stand up if you feel in the mood. It's the L-O-W-R-Y-C-E. Make your MCs freeze, bitch, believe me. You can only wish to do the things that we do in 306 stand up if you feel in the mood.
Conditions there at 12. Remember, 680 News is the only radio station with a weather guarantee. Today's jackpot stands at $2,400. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, the latest on the historic movement. Coming out of Minneapolis as the city council decides to defund the police. 680 News time at 3:23.
A big part of the Minneapolis Fitch West Light Rail Transit project is replacement of the Highway 400 bridge with minimal disruption. So we built a new bridge beside the old one, so we can replace it in just a few days. Those days are here, so we're closing the southbound 400 lanes from Highway 407 to the 401.
You're a bastard stick disguised as a mud.
The M on Monday, June 15th, and closing Fitch from Signet to North Fitch all weekend. Get Twitter updates at Fitch West LRT, and thanks for your support.
What? What's this LRT bullshit? Oh, you guys can have trains, cool. You'll get littler trains, but we're bigger, and there's more of us, and we're more crowded in. Yeah, you get littler trains less often.
680 News, Cottage Country Traffic.
They're gonna be slower too? Yeah. Oh, and the doors are gonna pop open randomly while you're riding, which they do. Go to Scarborough. It's not the same as the subway.
We're here for you.
I think that shit shut down now. They don't update us properly. They told us they were shutting it down permanently.
There was an all-star virtual commencement for the graduating
And in
class
another
of
8 years, they
2020
might get,
United
a
States.
replacement LRT. That's great. They're still never going to get their subway or
One of the dozens of
Elks,
celebs
whatever you
taking
want to
part
call it.
Sunday in
Full-size
YouTube's Dear
train.
Class of 2020 4-hour virtual commencement live stream for graduating seniors.
Scarborough won't get their full-size train. Eglinton West, Little Jamaica won't get their full-size train. They started building the Eglinton West subway. Built 5 stations. They paid $1 billion cancellation fee. The station's already built.
Gaga, Billie Eilish, Jimmy Kimmel, you get the idea.
1998 through 2000.
ABC News.
Your business report is just 60 seconds away. 680 News Times,
Stations are sitting
325.
there. So what the fuck are they building on the LRT right now? If the station's already built, what are they building? Exactly. All I know, those motherfuckers had a joint once on lunch break. So they made the fucking newspaper.
That's right, 30% just by driving safe. Visit allstate.ca.
They don't even work for the government. They're private contractors.
See just how much you can save when you drive safe with
Imagine that. Your job's to fucking shovel rocks or some shit. You smoke a joint. You want to fucking
Hundreds of technicians and technologists at Unity Health Toronto are frontline heroes. They take samples from COVID patients. They test for coronavirus. They perform critical diagnostic procedures and life-saving lab tests. Every day, they put their lives on
like
the
sickle
line
cell
to keep
testing?
us safe.
Right,
Yet
sickle
the
cell
Ontario
testing.
government has excluded them from pandemic pay. It's not about the money. It's about respect. Visit liuna3000.ca and tell the government all hospital workers deserve pandemic pay. A message from Liuna Local 3000.
680 News Time,
Why am I in French? I don't know how to say sickle cell anemia in
Business Report.
French.
I'm Irene Preclip. In many parts of the country, sitting in a restaurant and having a meal is still off the table. To help
So
restaurant owners
then
welcome
ER.
back customers, food distributor Cisco Canada has developed a specific resource. Randy White is the company's president.
The Snapback Toolkit has been in development actually for the last 12 weeks. It's been an evolution of ideas and tools that we have been assembling for any and all within the restaurant industry. And what it brings forward is ideas, checklists, key components that a restaurateur can engage in as they reopen their restaurant to bring the public back in. And it's quite
We're never
interesting
going
because
back. We're all
initially we
broke,
were
stupid.
working through how do we help
Oh, we're gonna get our customers back. The ones that have
when
jobs.
patrons
Yeah,
can't
you're
come through the
not
door.
doing the
He
math
says in
correctly in
parts
their
of
head. You
Canada
can
where
make money in
restaurants
this, but
have
you're not
reopened,
doing the
there's a
math correctly in
noticeable
your head. You're
difference.
all trying to
If you go
borrow
into a
money to
restaurant,
chase customers you don't have.
servers and operators are wearing masks, and as you know, at first blush, it may not seem as inviting and as exciting, but once you realize that the same person behind the mask that is actually smiling and is eager to serve you with the great service, those concerns are settled.
You guys aren't used to wearing masks. You're smiling at each other, not realizing you can't see it. That's why I do this when I'm
They're
wearing
turning their kitchen products very quickly, and in addition,
Well, otherwise the person don't know me and all they see is me.
And
Let's smile. Look at my eyes when I'm smiling. I don't
no
know.
choice. What it means is very specific items and products that they know their patrons love and are willing or interested in returning to enjoy, but at the same time allows the restaurant not to carry excessive inventories when they run their normal plethora of menu items that sometimes, if they don't have the high volume, can be expensive.
That's Randy White, president of Cisco Canada. And at the Business Center, I'm Irene Preclip.
Ontario, you're making a difference to keep people safe from COVID-19, and we all need to continue our efforts to protect each other. Get tested if you're worried you may have COVID-19 or have been exposed to the virus. Practice physical distancing, stay 2 meters apart, wear a face covering when physical distancing is a challenge, and continue to wash hands frequently. Inside or
No!
outside, stay safe.
No, I'm never washing my hands
At
again, ever.
ontario.ca/coronavirus. paid for by the Government of Ontario.
No, you guys told me not to use hand sanitizer. You said the water smelled funny and had bugs in it. Fuck that. I'll just never bathe ever again. I want to drink water.
Uline is a
And
family
I'll drink Pepsi
with
or
a
something.
long history as a
Rum.
stable
There we go.
employer
Work for the
and
Dutch
offers
sailors.
wages starting at $22
I'm already older than most Dutch sailors back then would have ever lived to do, right?
annual bonuses. You will
Look
work
at
in a
that,
safe
now that I think
facility
about it.
for a company that prioritizes its employees' health. Uline is currently
Although they probably had way more
warehouse
purchasing
associates,
power than I
distribution
do.
managers, and warehouse leads. To learn more
They
and
would laugh
apply,
when they
visit
did this.
uline.jobs/Milton. We'll get you home with
Wow.
local traffic reports on the ones.
Maybe not. I got all the things they would have.
Taking a look at your
Coffee,
regional
chocolate,
weather
everything I
conditions in
wanted.
Ajax, 13 degrees, a clear sky. Similar conditions over in Oshawa, Pickering, and Richmond Hill, it's 12 degrees. In
Richmond Hill?
Orangeville, 9,
What?
similar
You just
conditions
call
in
it that?
Erin, and in Mississauga, 11 degrees and a clear sky. Downtown
I didn't call it. I
Toronto
call it
right now,
Richmond,
13
so.
degrees and partly cloudy. The News Watch never stops. The City News is
Probably every black person
CFTR
that
AM Toronto.
heard
Listen
that
3,
name.
4
That ran through
downtown
their head.
today.
Rich,
And
Rich,
always been
Rich.
to know. 6:80 news time, 3:30.
I'm like a slave owner saying too. Richmond. Yeah, Richmond, Virginia. There you go.
For news in Toronto.
Now we gotta look that up. Why does Richmond, Virginia have to be in Richmond?
Good morning. This is Monday, June the 8th. I'm Veronica
Google.
Sullivan, and I'm
No,
Allison
Wikipedia,
Fitzpatrick. Here's what's making news this hour.
Wikipedia.
Following 2 weeks of
Yeah,
protests
I'm
against
bad. I
systemic
know
racism,
Google's prettier, but I
Minneapolis City
need to
Council
talk to you
says
because you're
no more
smarter.
to their police department. Houston prepares to memorialize George Floyd. I'm ABC's Jim
It's
Ryan.
top
The
of the
story
hour
is
again.
coming
I'm
up.
off.
Protests in the name of Black Lives Matter continue in the U.S. ahead of the first court appearance for the officer accused of killing George Floyd.
New Zealand's Prime Minister says she's confident the spread of COVID-19 has now stopped in that country.
Another win for Kevin Harvick on the NASCAR circuit. The notorious MMA announcing his retirement again from UFC, and more scores from Bundesliga Sports at 45.
See, you use an acronym, no, but it's arts.
Twitter, we're going to the tech experts to
The
find
notorious
out if Twitter
MMA.
hates the U.S.
What did
president
the
and whether or
fucking
not he can shut it down.
it's UFC, bro? See, people are fucking with my head with
News
their
time,
fucking
3:31.
acronyms.
Time for traffic and weather. Together on the ones, here's Michael Ranger.
Well, overnight construction, that's been the biggest issue on the roads this morning. Some of that has already started to clear up. Lots of ramps remain closed. Take you through those now. Eastbound 401, northbound Highway 25 ramp onto the East 401. That was closed. That one has now reopened.
I have to, every different type of paper,
Mississauga
tobacco,
Road
and
ramps to
weed.
the East 401. They
Nobody
remain
has
shut
as
down.
many
No access to
explosions of
Dixie
fire
Road.
around them as me.
Transferring into the collectors at Allen, that's still shut down. Transfer into the express at the 404 DVP, that is also still shut down. Westbound side of the
But
highway,
they're
southbound
already
Morningside
dead from
ramp to the
explosion.
west 401 is closed. No access to Nielsen. Northbound Markham Road
One of the
ramps
first things I
onto
ever
the
did
highway
was
shut
shut the
down.
house
No
fire.
access to McAllen.
Okay,
Ramps to and from
Richmond.
southbound Allen are closed. Northbound Dufferin ramp to the westbound 401, that also remains closed. If you're traveling southbound on the 427, there was no access to the eastbound 407, but that ramp has reopened. Northbound 427, still no access to the 407 in either
I'm
direction.
confused with Richmond
If you're
County,
traveling
Virginia.
on
Oh, really?
westbound Stouffville Road, no access to the
The
744.
Commonwealth of
Westbound
Virginia. Oh,
Finch,
you're
no
a
access to the
Commonwealth. You're one state. How the
7400.
fuck are you
Looking
a
at city streets now,
Commonwealth?
new
One
problem
state.
on Bloor Street. A fire investigation going on. It is closed in both directions from Dovercourt to Ossington. Again, it looks like, just looking at it on the camera, it looks like traffic is actually still getting through on the westbound lanes, but you have to get over kind of into the shoulder. But eastbound lanes of Bloor Street blocked again from Dovercourt to Ossington. That is for a fire investigation. Next report at 3:41 with your forecast. Here's Malia Sheikh.
We are hitting 26 degrees as our daytime high.
That's
Mainly
your sister
sunny
in
skies
this.
on your Monday. A UV index of 9, which is very high, so make sure you do protect your skin, and a low of 13. For your high for today, 26 degrees.
Downtown Toronto right now, 13 degrees, a partly cloudy sky.
Independent City. What is the fuck does that
Similar
mean?
conditions
You're a
there at
Commonwealth?
12. 6:80 news
You're a
time,
Commonwealth of
3:33.
cities?
It's now been 2 weeks since the death of 46-year-old George Floyd, an unarmed black man
Oh,
who
it
was
hasn't.
killed while in police custody in Minneapolis.
thought that was
Floyd's death has
Tuesday
sparked numerous
night. Was it-
protests
what-
all across the globe, and as 680's James
It's
Macken
morning
explained,
time, too.
the call
Hold
for
on.
action has now led to City
Slow
Council
down,
voting to
slow down.
scrap the local police department.
9 out of 12 councilors have voted in favor of dismantling the city's police
See how
department,
far that is
saying
from my
it's
fingers?
impossible
I
to
can feel the
reform
heat.
it in its current
There's
state.
something wrong with my nervous system.
Councilor Jeremiah Ellison announced the news
Not
on
even that
Sunday,
hard.
promising the city will dismantle the department. This follows protests that have taken place all over the world, sparked by the death of George Floyd, the 46-year-old black man who died in Minneapolis police custody. Floyd died when former police officer Derek Chauvin knelt on his neck for several minutes, and on Friday, Minneapolis City Council voted to prohibit neck restraints as well. Councilors plan to create a new system.
It's assault and battery. It's inherently going to cause bodily harm and risk death. It's intent to cause death. How the fuck do you need a rule to not do it?
Their police departments. I'm James.
If you know it's likely to kill somebody if you do it, and you do know that, you don't need a rule to prohibit it. You already got a law to prohibit it.
A police officer, the city where the
You would know if you weren't a
46-year-old
cop,
grew
because
up
cops
is
don't study
preparing
the
for
law.
2 days of
I know the law. No, you don't.
ABC's
They
Jim
don't send
Ryan
you copies of the law when they update it.
Behind
No,
closed
they
doors,
don't.
presidential hopeful Joe Biden will meet today with George Floyd's family as a
The
public
district
viewing
attorney
gets
gets a copy.
underway.
You don't.
In the streets, young people plan more protests.
The district attorney goes has a blowjob session with the mayor. The mayor comes fucks you in the ass and he says, hey, by the way, do this. And you go, okay. That's your knowledge of the law, bro.
In small groups, thousands of people are expected to file past George Floyd's casket today, a process that will take at least 6 hours. Jim Ryan, ABC
Richmond,
News,
United
Houston.
Kingdom.
6:80 News Time, 3:35, and in the U.S., where curfews are being lifted in the wake of peaceful protests, and now New York City's mayor is taking action in the wake of calls to defund the police. 6 City's Michelle Mackey reports.
After a weekend of peaceful protests, Chicago, Philadelphia, and New York City are no longer under curfews. Now, NYC Mayor Bill de Blasio is announcing a wave of police reforms, including shifting funding from the NYPD to youth and social services.
We are committed to shifting resources to ensure that the
Social
focus
services,
is on our young people.
welfare, and
The move comes as Officer Derek Chauvin is set to make his first court appearance Monday afternoon in Minnesota, charged with second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter in the death of George Floyd.
Despite that graphic video showing the former officer Chauvin on the neck of Floyd for nearly 9 minutes, Attorney General Keith Ellison says this won't be easy.
I hope that little
ABC's
girl grows
Zachary
up and never
Keesh in
sees that
Minneapolis,
video.
who says
Hope
the
she never
potential
sees it.
sentences for the other 3 officers involved in Floyd's death
You don't need to see
depend
that.
on Chauvin's
And
conviction.
I haven't watched it either.
I'm Michelle Mackey.
Meantime, back here at home, thousands marched for Black Lives in Mississauga on Sunday. The demonstrators putting out a call to action, pushing Peel police to wear body cameras.
Chants of Black Lives Matter rang
You know
out
what the
in
worst way to die
Mississauga
is?
as thousands
It's the
gathered
lethal
to call
injection.
for an end to anti-Black
the worst.
racism. It happened near Celebration Square. I spoke with NDP MPP and member of the Ontario
First you
Black
get locked
Caucus,
in.
Kevin Yard, who
Then
was
you get
at the
incredible
protest.
pain.
He says,
And then
protesters are calling for
eventually
many
you're hurting
things,
long
like an
stop.
end to carding
20
and
fucking
justice
minutes
for
of
Regis
that?
Korchinski
Jeez.
Paquette.
We're going to continue to push for justice and
It's kind of like sickle cell and suicide disease.
And that requires change. That requires mobilizing, and we're going to continue to push for that. We've been seeing what's been happening in the United States, and it's no different what's happening here in Canada. We are not immune to racism.
Yard says we also need to fight racism with proper legislation, and we need more de-escalation training in police services. He adds that we all need to speak out if we want to invoke meaningful change. I'm Seher Hashimi.
680 News Time at 3:37. U.S. President Donald Trump is ordering the National Guard to leave Washington, D.C. after massive protests against police brutality. Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy confirmed this in a Pentagon police call briefing Sunday afternoon.
Looked at the trends, saw that it become very peaceful in nature, and started developing a plan for the withdrawal.
The protests ended with largely peaceful expressions that organizers hope will sustain their movement. Last week, Trump used the National Guard to clear a path for him through peaceful protesters so he could walk to a church across from the White House for a photo op. It was a move denounced by the church leaders as insulting. You're listening to All News Radio 680 News.
Handlers have to come with you when you take a shit. Don't you make them stand in, like, at the door while you take a shit just to like. You have to have them do that, you know, just in case somebody like, oh, but maybe Osama bin Laden might shoot me or shit. Do you make them do that, bro? I know they have to. I'm not gonna rag on the guy that has to do that.
The nation of 5
But
million people
do you make them do that?
the first to welcome scores of fans back into sports stadiums, embrace crowded
McDonald, did you
concerts,
stock up on
and
toilet
remove
paper?
seating restrictions
No,
for
you're dumbass.
flights.
probably runs
It's
out
been
every other
17
week.
days
Yeah.
since the last new case.
But
was
do you like go
reported
up in the shower or something? You just put the
during
suit
which
back on
an
and throw it out.
additional 40,000 people have been tested, bringing the total number
Because
tested.
Justin's got these military issue long johns.
Today
You don't have
marks
to throw out
the
the
first
suit.
time
You
since
just
late February that there
you
have
hose
been
off the long
active
johns and they're like
cases.
they're airlocked to
Prime
your
Minister Jacinda
socks.
Ardern said she was confident her country had halted the spread of the virus, but says it still must be prepared for more. She adds her government's focus will now be on the country's borders, where isolation and quarantine will continue.
Borders.
The private company that runs Woodbridge Vista Care Community in Vaughan has announced that the Canadian Armed Forces is
Vaughan
going
has
to be
an
deployed
A.
to
Yeah,
help
it's
the
got a G
long-term
and H
care
and a
home.
U too,
A
eh?
spokesperson for the
Add
Woodbridge
another
Vista
A.
Care
Like,
says they're struggling to contain an active COVID-19 outbreak. York Region says there have been 22 deaths of
Yeah,
residents
I
at
know
the
there's
home.
a very
The home
popular
has had
chain called
102
Vaughn's, and it ain't
residents
spelled the
cases in
same
all,
way at
including
all.
deaths and
At all.
40
There's a
cases
B at the
involving
end, that's it.
healthcare workers. And globally, the death toll from COVID-19 has now reached at least 400,000, yet countries around the world have continued easing lockdown restrictions, as many health experts warn the pandemic is far from over.
According to Johns Hopkins
The
University,
woman
at
just
least
said it's not going
6.9
away.
million people have been infected with the virus, as the US leads the way with nearly 110,000 confirmed virus-related deaths. Many countries like the US and Britain insist that they can ease restrictions before having stalled their outbreaks. Infectious diseases consultant Dr.
you're all
Sarah
gonna
Logan
ease.
says
Sure, the
clear
virus is
government
gonna be bouncing back
communication
and
is
forth.
vital to stop new spikes from
Can't figure out
occurring.
what's
The
happening.
clarity of message has been really problematic from the UK government as well
Clarity.
as most other governments around the world.
Britain's
No, the message
scientific
isn't clear.
advisors to the
Don't do
government are
these
saying
things.
the
And you go
pandemic
do
is
them
definitely
anyway.
not all over. Dr. Logan
We're not
believes the
flying
virus
anybody
may
home
never go
except for
away.
the next
It
8
won't
planes of
completely
people.
go away,
Right.
probably ever.
Karen Shamus, London.
Getting you where
We're
you need
still
to go.
flying people places. Why?
Traffic in Toronto.
Why is the airport
Now,
still
the
open?
680 News gas price update, and Pro says the price did not change at midnight. It's holding at $1.09 a liter at most GTA stations. Your traffic
And
and
the
weather
people making
reports
this
are next.
decisions like, oh, well, it
680
won't
News
affect
Time,
me because of
3:40.
this and that. Okay.
So you went out
When you get
drinking
sick
and you did
and
the
you're
right
doing
thing.
commercials,
You
go,
left the
oh,
car at home.
you people should
Thank
take it
you.
seriously because
But
I
did you know
did
that
it.
if you
Look at
drank a
me.
lot and stayed up
Nobody
late,
listens.
you could still have alcohol in your system the next day and could register a warrant, even a fail on a roadside screening device. It can take up to 12 hours or more from the time of your last drink for your BAC to
Last
reach
drink?
zero.
Hold on,
And
bro.
only time, not sleep, coffee, or shower sobers you up any faster. A message from Arrival App Drive
Well,
Sober
the catch
and
with sleep, that 12 hours don't start kicking in if you're sleeping
680 News
because
Time,
when you
3:41.
piss in the
It's time
bed,
for
where's the
traffic and
alcohol
weather
go? You're still
together
full
on
of
the lines.
alcohol when you wake
Traffic
up.
first, here's
Your BAC didn't drop at all when you were sleeping.
Well, we've had a lot of overnight construction on the roads this morning, but some of that is starting to clear up now. Still lots of ramps are closed. Eastbound 401, there was no access onto the highway from northbound Highway 25. That ramp is now open. Still no access to the highway from northbound and southbound Mississauga Road. Ramp to Dixie Road from the East 401 is closed. Transfer to the collectors at Allen shut down. Transfer to the Express at the 404, that's also shut down. Westbound side of the highway, ramp to the West 401 from southbound Morningside remains closed. No access to Nielsen. Northbound Nielsen,
It's
northbound
covered almost
Markham Road
everything
ramps to the
just now
highway.
at the bottom.
They are shut
They
down.
don't usually do that.
Ramp to McCowan from the highway closed. Southbound Allen ramp to the highway. Northbound Dufferin ramp onto the West 401. Both of those remain shut
The
down.
audio source.
And there is no DJ can put the
Oui, puis qui sont minoritaires. La grande majorité de l'humanité aurait intérêt à ce qu'on évite.
I can't explain this one. Okay, this has to do with fucking genetics. Like a fucking horse. I can stand all day, walk all day. I can't sit there. I slept, woke up, now my legs hurt as if I fucking got kicked in both legs.
L'éthique animale, c'est effectivement le clivage qu'il peut y avoir entre la
Oh, did I
raison et puis la
sleep on
façon
top
dont
of
on
one
se
and the other?
La
Do
plupart des
some
gens sont d'accord avec les, quand on prend la peine de l'expliquer, ils sont d'accord avec les comportements rationnels, mais le comportement, c'est une autre affaire. Parce que l'être
I
humain,
love watching this guy's channel. You know what? If I knew this, it hurts.
on le rappeler, on n'est pas juste rationnel. c'est pas simplement les
You're gonna get one of these things, fall and hurt myself. Get up 20 minutes later.
Ouais, exactement. Et quand on est, même quand on est comme moi, spécialisé en philosophie, en éthique, et qu'on réfléchit à...
Oh, I've had the fucking sickle crisis standing up and I can't.
Je vais mieux me comporter que quelqu'un qui n'aura pas
You can't get yourself to a position to sit down. You have to stabilize yourself standing.
Dans l'esprit, parfois on distingue le système 1, qui est le système intuitif, émotionnel, du système 2, qui est le système rationnel. Et ce que nous disent les études en psychologie, c'est que c'est le système 1 qui l'emporte quand il y a conflit.
Ben, Martin,
you see me leaning on something.
on a préparé d'autres
I'm
questions
gonna do this, we're gonna do that, do it
une
then,
autre
because
invitation qu'on vous fera lors
long
de
way
la
from
prochaine,
home.
parce que
Don't know if I can walk all
c'est
the way.
faire la morale au robot,
You're gonna
mais
do it
introduction
good
à
now,
l'éthique
because
des
then I won't even feel bad
algorithmes
when I
est
fight.
vraiment passionnant.
No,
Je rappelle que vous êtes philosophe, chercheur en éthique de l'intelligence artificielle à l'Université de Montréal. Merci beaucoup d'avoir accepté notre invitation et bonne fin de soirée. On se dit à une prochaine assurément.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
En circuit fermé, avec Serge Bouchard.
Bonsoir. La leçon de qui s'affiche ou l'éloge du sauvage. L'homme est un loup pour l'homme est une expression offensante pour le loup. S'il est un animal qui n'a rien à voir avec l'homme, c'est bien le loup. En général, lorsqu'une meute tue un gros orignal, elle va se réunir autour de la carcasse et manger en famille. Durant le repas ou juste après, les loups ne vont pas tenir un conseil pour avancer l'hypothèse que la prochaine fois, il faudrait tuer 100 orignaux pour vraiment se satisfaire et mieux se réaliser en tant que société de loups. Non,
le loup, c'est
la
noir.
viande de leur proie. Ils vont aller faire une sieste bien à l'abri sous une jupe d'épinette.
Le loup ne mange pas le...
Je donnais une visioconférence devant un public de 700 personnes. Gracieuseté de Zoom. J'étais en compagnie de Richard Kistabish, un Anishinaabe de renom que je connais depuis des lunes. Ensemble, nous avons parlé pendant 3 heures devant cette grande assemblée de gens. Richard est un sage, je dirais un jongleur, un trickster, ce qui d'ailleurs est la signification de son nom. Durant sa conférence, il se lança dans une diatribe aussi touchante que révélatrice. Il leva à peine le ton pour dire ceci, que je reproduis ici dans mes mots. Ouvrez les guillemets. Pendant 9000 ans, nous avons vécu ici en ce pays. Pendant 9000 ans, nous avons protégé ce joyau. Nous avons gardé ce trésor. On pouvait boire à même l'eau de la rivière, à même l'eau du lac. La forêt était vaste et intacte. Les animaux sauvages avaient toute leur place nécessaire pour se reproduire. Heureux. Nous avions l'intelligence de notre terre, nous en avions toutes les compétences. Nous étions attachés à chacun des arbres de la forêt. Nous parlions aux animaux. Cela fait beaucoup d'attachement, beaucoup de conversation. Une branche cassait et nous le savions. Pendant 9000 ans, nous avons fait de beaux enfants, nous avions des familles, nous avions notre langue, notre savoir, notre foi et notre profonde spiritualité. Et puis, vous êtes venus avec vos idées de progrès sous le bras. En l'espace de 100 ans, vous avez détruit les paysages millénaires que nous avions si bien protégés. Vous avez coupé à blanc la forêt sacrée. En seulement 100 ans, vous avez volé vos enfants, nos enfants, pour les maltraiter dans les pensionnats indiens. Vous avez tué nos savoirs. Vous nous avez enfermés dans des réserves. Vous avez pollué tous les cours d'eau. La beauté est disparue, car nous étions beaux, aussi beaux que la nature pouvait être belle. Je dirais même, nous étions parfaits, et nous vivions au paradis,
sans virus, sans maladie. Comment réparer aujourd'hui les dommages catastrophiques faits à la nature par ce maudit progrès? Nous, les Indiens, nous étions des conservateurs de la beauté. Vous, les gens de progrès, vous ne pensez qu'à la détruire. Dans ma vie, autour de moi, tout est devenu laid. Discours naïf, manichéen? Bien sûr que non. La présentation de Richard Kistavich avait la valeur d'une fable. Je parle d'une fresque métaphorique. Cela dépasse largement la question autochtone, la question du bon Indien ou du mauvais Indien. C'est un plaidoyer contre la croissance démente, contre l'avidité, contre la dévastation du monde naturel et sauvage. Richard le jongleur s'adressait à un public québécois et international, puisqu'il y avait 1 ou 2 centaines de personnes, des Belges, des Suisses, des Français, des Tunisiens, des Libanais et des Russes à l'écran. Je ne fus certainement pas le seul à avoir été ébranlé par son discours. La leçon de Kistavich vaut bien celle de plusieurs grands philosophes. Il nous dit que le sauvage est beau. Nous aurions besoin aujourd'hui, mal pris comme nous le sommes, de plus de pensées sauvages, de plus d'espace sauvage et d'une bonne dose de liberté sauvage. Ne dites jamais capitalisme sauvage, car cela est une insulte pour le sauvage. Sachons que le capitalisme est démesurément civilisé.
A former First Lady encouraged graduates to learn from what's going on all around them.
I hope that what you're going through right now can be your wake-up call. And it pushes you not just to think about what kind of career you want to build, but what kind of person do you want to be? And here's the thing, you have the opportunity to learn these valuable lessons faster than the generations before you. And you can learn them together as a cohort of young people ready to take on the world, no matter how tumultuous it may be.
The virtual commencement ceremony featured a star-studded lineup, including Beyonce, Lady Gaga, and Tom Brady. And your wedding day is one of the most important days of your life, but because of COVID-19, many couples have had to cancel or postpone their big day. As 680's Phil Martino tells us, that's affecting everyone in the wedding industry, from makeup artists and hairstylists to event planners and photographers.
It has been a tough year for Toronto wedding photographer Erica Hammer. The owner of 10 to 10 Photography says her livelihood relies on people gathering. So if there are no gatherings of people, she has no livelihood.
Birthday drive-by. What?
85% is my expected income for this year.
She says because of COVID-19, most of her clients have pushed their weddings to next year, and that has caused a ripple effect. Hammer has limited 2021 ability to bring in new money, as those dates have been given to 2020 couples.
I can only be at one wedding a day, and now the majority of next year is
Why can't you do 2 a day? One in the morning, that's how they do funerals. One in the morning, one in the afternoon.
Hammer says other small business owners who are in the wedding industry are experiencing the same thing. I'm Phil Martino.
Oh, shit. It's like kindergarten, the funerals. They get you coming, they get you going. Why not the wedding? Hey, wait a second. What's wrong with you people? On my wedding day, I gotta have the whole fucking day.
Well, still looking at some overnight construction on the roads. That's the biggest issue right now. Ramps are closed. Some of them have started to reopen. Eastbound 401, still no access to the highway from northbound, southbound.
Don't bother with the steam whistle. You just get pure Heineken, because everybody can drink it, even if it's not the thing.
The collectors, that is now reopened at the 404.
You don't want to save money on cheap
Express. That
was you can spend money on all
the highway now westbound 401, no access to the highway from southbound Morningside, ramps to Nielsen
not rented, people don't be mad.
Nielsen, northbound Markham Road, ramps onto the highway still shut down. No access access to McAllen from the highway. Ramps to and from southbound Allen, they remain closed as well. Northbound Dufferin, there is no access to the west 401. No access to the southbound 400 from westbound Finch. No access onto the southbound 404 from westbound Stouffville Road. After traveling northbound on the 427, transfer into the express.
No, I know where all these places are. I'm trying to keep up, just visualize where the fuck they are.
Are closed, as are the ramps from the highway to the
You are
407.
required
both
by
directions.
default to tune in again 10
Eastbound and
minutes
westbound
later, not
Cody
because of the
Park
radio
ramps to
station,
the
just by the
southbound
city.
410, they remain closed as well. City streets,
And they say,
Bloor
yeah,
Street is
everything's
closed
clear.
in
It's
both
like,
directions,
what
eastbound
is
and
wrong?
westbound from Dovercourt to Ossington.
Yeah,
That is for
everything's
a
clear.
fire
Is everybody
investigation. Next report at 4:01 with your forecast. Here's Malia Shape.
Okay, Tom,
Why are you driving?
26
What's wrong
degrees
with
on
you?
your Monday. You're certainly going to want to be eating your lunch outdoors. It's going to be a beautiful day. Warmer
Well, we
than
can't eat it indoors, eh? What the
fuck?
fuck?
9, which is very high, though, so make sure you do protect your skin. A low of 13.
UV of 9,
It gets a
thank
little
you.
bit
Oh, by the way,
uncomfortable.
because of the
A daytime high
season, it'll be like
33,
right here.
Sunny skies and low of 19. Wednesday, we're still hanging on to the 30s. A daytime high of 31 with a 40% chance for showers. A low of 17.
You know, that would
Your
be
high for
that
today,
garden
26
is great for
degrees.
this.
Right now in downtown Toronto, a partly cloudy sky. It's 13 degrees.
Westbound.
Similar conditions at Pearson
Let's say
Airport
right from the
and
beginning
12
from
degrees.
fucking Leslie.
Coming up at the top of the hour, the latest on the historic move by Minneapolis City Council
And
on
the sun's
Sunday.
setting.
They voted to
Yeah,
disband the local police department there. It all comes as protests continue for nearly 2 weeks against anti-black racism
They're all doing
in the
90
wake
or
of the
100 or
death
whatever
of
it is
George
up there.
Floyd on May 25th.
If you try and speed up, there's
680
no,
News
there's no
Time,
extra space. There's no
3:54.
point trying to
Your
speed.
home is your castle, your refuge, your safe place.
Our job at
Then the sun hits and then everybody, oh, God,
disappear.
your risers are down. But you're all driving like this. You know nobody can see shit. But if you tried to stop, you'd all fucking die. Nobody can see nothing.
And our gloved professionals.
Don't lie. I can't see nothing. I got better vision than all y'all put together.
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Or visit 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com.
Helping you navigate our new world.
Better sunglasses.
forward to
too. I
a
don't wear
life
them
resumed.
now.
Listen 3, 4, 5 times a day. This is 680 News.
Calling all young scientists
Right,
in the
Orange.
city of Vaughan,
Oh,
public
Jesus.
libraries in the city have launched
But
their
you
first ever
you can't let your
virtual
hand
science fair.
move
It's
off
for
the wheel.
grades
Your
2
hands
to
too.
12, and the theme is staying healthy and happy at home.
Oh,
Mayor
I should
Maurizio
like,
Bevilacqua
one
told
hand
680
no,
News it's a
motherfucker,
way
that's
for
how you fucking
students
die.
to stay engaged, busy, and also to make memories. He says any
You're not
format is
TV.
accepted, from video skits to working
Oh,
prototypes.
that's what you're
And submissions are
reading.
now open online until June 30th. Coming up in 60 seconds, your 680 News Business Report. 680 News Time, 3:55.
A message from the Canadian Union of Brewery and General Workers, Component 325. Please remember that essential workers, including healthcare workers, grocery and convenience store clerks, gas station attendants, food delivery people, truckers and transit workers have been risking their health and welfare to keep the rest of our
That's why
nation
you're
going.
supposed to be keeping them sanitized in the day and wasted at night so they don't go out.
Reduce the spread of COVID-19. Thank you from the Canadian Union of Brewery and General Workers,
You
representing
know, when they wake up in the morning and they puke out all the virus and they're ready to go
the
again.
big summer sale has arrived at Dod's Garage Doors.
The hangover makes you stay in the shower an extra 10 minutes and pulls off extra virus and shit. Yeah, all that cold sweats and everything. That's all fucking just crap
Financing
coming
from
out.
Dod's Garage Doors. That's right, 0% financing. Offer ends June 30th. Save now. Dodds. D-O-D-D-S.
The breweries can switch back and forth between beer, vodka. What just happened?
680 News
Come
Time,
on, fuck
3:56. Now time for the 680 News Business Report.
Next is
I'm Richard
Fuck
Sutter.
off.
It's been Trump
I know you
versus
just do.
Twitter the last week or so. The
I'm
U.S.
not telling
president
people to
not
drink
happy
ethanol,
with the
you
fact
morons.
that Twitter fact-checked
You
and
are.
censored
Stupid.
some
What's
of
in
his
there?
tweets. In
Ethanol.
fact,
Oh,
Trump
you're
is
gonna
threatening to
cut it
shut
right
down
off.
Twitter altogether.
Oh, I
Daniel
was right,
Bader
wasn't I?
is managing
You
editor
were
of
telling them to drink
Android
ethanol. I'm
Central.
telling them not
Daniel,
to
here's
drink
the
it all.
question. Trump clearly needs Twitter, I think.
The
It's his big
next thing out of my
communication
mouth
strategy.
before
But
homeboy
does
at the
Twitter need
CSE
Trump?
started fucking
Probably,
with my
I think
signal.
there is an argument to be
The
made that
brewery
Twitter
can switch between vodka,
relies
beer, and hand
on the
sanitizer. Do you think
feedback
you should be
loop,
drinking that?
to some extent, although I think at this point it's more of a detriment to its
Fucking sensitive.
image
You're always
as a
about to say
company
something.
than
You guys are
an
idiots.
advantage of having
Listen to what I'm
him
saying before you cut it
constantly
off.
tweeting. Twitter has been criticized for not
Canada,
growing as
by the
quickly
way.
as it should have from investors' perspectives
Say, fuck
over the
shit,
years compared to
pussy, everything.
Facebook,
You can't stop
which it says is not because it is not growing as a company, but rather that it is a very different kind of platform than Facebook. Twitter just serves a different function. And from that perspective,
the eliminatory
being
function,
its most prominent member is a good thing in terms of cultural
Your most prominent member is a
helping
dick.
share price or not. I don't know.
The ultimate question, Daniel, if I'm an investor in Twitter, especially, is
Did you
can
say all that shit on purpose, bro? You did.
No, this
I
argument
got on the
that
radio
this
today.
executive
I got to
order
say, prominent
can
member
force the
about a dick.
FCC
Get it?
to police speech online is not going to happen unless Congress changes this Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which would require a Democratic Congress to approve.
You wanted
such
to
a
retain
change.
control, you should have stayed on TV and radio.
finishing the week just shy of
Oh, that's all
36
fake
US
news. Oh,
dollars
you
this
did
year.
it.
At the
Oh, way to
Business
go.
Center, I'm Richard Sutter.
Two sides to that, eh?
This is your weather station, 680 News. You might see a cannabis edible and think, ooh, that's cute. This one's
No, I think, why the fuck did you add all that sugar and yeast and shit to it? I can't smoke
It's not
that.
as innocent as it looks. It's a bit like a miniature pony with a gambling problem. Or a unicorn using its horn to rebroadcast baseball games without express written consent from the league.
I'm not listening to this weirdo because he should, don't smoke weed with guys that no man. It's not free, eh? That guy tries to smoke, could give you anything, don't take it. Oh, he's acting like he's hallucinating. Whoa, where is that coming from? He's hallucinating off a fucking. He ate a bite of a brownie. 2 seconds later, he's hallucinating.
Miscarriage for the cabbage, wrestle a savage, get a bandage. Niggas couldn't manage.
You call it a savage. We rolling brown boys.
You know that's a work of art.
You understand?
Silhouette, my niggas slide when you wait. Press on watch like a hat that waist. From the point out there, so freeze with a card that slave. Don't watch my age, just watch when I pop my case. I fought engaged when niggas wouldn't watch them ways. I'm not amazed at y'all. Talking papers, chop for trade. That nigga, we been spot the place and drop the strays with the strap that I got in case. It's like a hurricane, and niggas gotta rock the place. So what I do now? Something I do, they've been doing now. When you start getting like a U-Haul and move around, kids got my music in class, burning the schools down. The demon killed Jesus, get some king of the Jews now. A shot blast, it was blasphemous. Rip this piece off, Jesus with the Nazareth. You getting money, we gon' tax them all. We can slap the back of boy, nigga, like a racquetball. Boy crash, nigga still rapping when I had clapped my jaw. Got a new strap to see the party I can practice on. You niggas make this easy, quote Keezy. Niggas disrespecting her set, she get TT. Couldn't take a shit on this paper, it's not TP. Put my fucking arm up, told me to drink green tea. I gotta put a wash these bags. I got an AR in this hockey bag. See, that's the most basic when I step out the matrix. Try to give you a playlist, I put that on my handkerchief. I'm from a gang of Crips. Donkey Kong when the banging off a banana clip. LL when a nigga getting that cannabis. So Rustar whenever they beating niggas on cameras. We transport weight, it's grams. On the scale top, the word looks strong enough to bribe or have your bell product. Fuck house arrest and go visit you with the bell cops. You're not home, I promise that you gon' see what that bell does. From the projects, then you gon' catch the concept. From 007 the rock collapse with the complex.
Remember now? No, I never did put him on the head, did I? You know? I didn't know what the fuck I was. I was so that the other dummies knew. People weren't paying attention. We don't flag up so we know who we are. Tommy.
Sports at 15. And coming up in business, Canadians are turning to new credit cards during the coronavirus pandemic. We'll hear from an expert on what's popular and what's getting the cold shoulder.
Exciting news time, 4:01. Time for traffic and weather. Together on the ones, here's Michael Ranger.
Well, overnight construction, that's been the biggest issue on the roads this morning.
If you rep your team, dying on your set, we hot.
What?
Big shots, nigga, rep your block.
This is the bandana that's loose, man.
Holding your tongue, the bloody north where the soldiers is from. If you rep your team, dying on your set, we hot. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. You ain't the bad game, best be holding your tongue, the bloody north where the soldiers is from.
3, 5, 7s, and like 11s, get that, pick up your weapon and stop yelling.
violent if you rap one exception. I got niggas in the work ready and willing to split you down the middle just like a blood, so walk without with me. The Lord will not forgive me. Shaking up your kidney, cause you faking and Disney. My niggas lippy and shifty, pissy, really icky, sicky. We don't give a wiggy, but really, trying to kill the city like crack in the 80s. I'm ready to burn in Hades. My thoughts infected with ratings. Not even my father can fade me. You niggas is crazy. Fuck up fighters, learn what these talents do. You can be as cuckoo as you want. I'm unbalanced too. Mixing the blood and the coming to rally you. Massacres splatter you when you off of your avenue. While I laugh at you. Demonics like this is dementia options. My figment, other appearance, igneous. Run you up the district. If you rep the team, I know you set me high. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. Holding your tongue to play off where the soldiers is from. If you rep the team, I know you set me high. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. Really make your bad hand, best be holding your tongue to play off where the soldiers is from. Star City where we blast shots, then to the last block. Your man mentality, cause all of us niggas ass rock. I'm a big game, homies, and feeling cash crops. Money growing trees, turning cold like a crack rock. Run the block, getting key, keep it padlocked. Bitches and animals, watch your dog, judge, transform. You big laws, smoke speed, bit like Sasquatch. My niggas know the son of the drugs, the sad balls. Better yet, I crash your place to the black ball. Trust the Charlie train of cocaine, I ain't been that plug, that love.
You city's toxic relationship with the Minneapolis Police Department. This follows the death of George Floyd in police custody, which has led to global protests against systemic racism and police violence. On Friday, the city council voted to ban chokehold and neck restraints for police officers.
You have to
The council
specifically
says they
man
intend to invest in a
Not to
community-led public safety
the precedent's already
program.
been said. You get a fucking charge of murder for it. Precedent's already been
And
said.
George Floyd's body will be laid to rest this week in a memorial in his
Everybody
hometown of Houston, Texas.
Oh,
There will
man,
be a
there's no
6-hour
fucking
viewing
statute of
today, and
limitations on
Democratic
murder.
presidential nominee Joe Biden is planning to attend. The funeral and
I mean,
burial
there's
is set
statute of
to take
limitations on
place
murder
on
and manslaughter,
Tuesday.
isn't
Earlier Sunday, another memorial was held in North Carolina, and
By the
Floyd
way,
will be
people
laid to
drunk
rest
drivers
next
get
to
a
his
special
mother.
charge. What's the vehicular
It's the
manslaughter?
13th day of protests stateside, but more cities are lifting their curfews due to increasingly
I do on
peaceful
purpose with a car. It's either manslaughter or
Davis
murder.
Michelle
But if
Mackey
I do
has
it drunk,
those
it's
details,
vehicular
along
manslaughter.
with a
That don't
big
make
win
sense.
for protesters in New York calling for police defunding.
Maybe that's
New
just a
York,
bit.
Philadelphia, and Chicago. Three major U.S. cities once the scene of violent protests and looting, now lifting their curfews. CNN's Bill Weir is in Brooklyn,
Nobody
where
feels sorry for the
demonstrators
snowbirds.
calls
Nobody
for
feels sorry for the
defunding the
fucking
police.
RCMP.
Has been
Nobody feels sorry for the town police. Nobody feels sorry for you motherfuckers. You don't say, well, look at how proud we are. Don't feel sorry for us. What the fuck's wrong with these people?
He would do that. He would cut the $6 billion NYPD budget. That's about 6% of his total budget for this city.
We're at like
It
one.
comes as Officer Derek Chauvin is set to make his first appearance in a Minnesota courtroom Monday afternoon. Chauvin is charged with
How are you not
second-degree
at like
murder
three or
and second-degree
six
manslaughter
US
after
too, by the
George
way.
Floyd.
Okay, hold on.
The three other officers who were with him have now
Nine.
been
Hold
charged
on a
with
second. How the
aiding
fuck?
and abetting the crimes. I'm
Why
Michelle
are you spending that
Mackey.
much on policing?
And
Don't
the
give me this New
statue
York
has
is
been torn
expensive.
down
It's
and
expensive
thrown
because
into
of
the
fucking
harbor
crime.
during a second day of anti-racism protest across the UK.
You bring more people together, it gets cheaper to live. How the fuck does it work for you? Yes, it does. How the fuck? Yes, it does.
In Bristol, protesters used ropes to pull down the statue of Edward Colston, a 17th century slave trader who has been a source of controversy in the city for many years. It comes as a largely
And
peaceful
that's
demonstration.
when the Dutch started to get into it and the British started to get upset. And then
Dozens of
after,
protesters have massed for a second day
British like to be
outside
like,
the
oh,
US
slave
Embassy
trading is
in
bad.
London,
Yeah,
and at least
well,
12
who
people
started
have
it?
been arrested throughout the city. And back here at
That's
home,
why
it was
I
another
think
day of rallies
black
across
loyalists,
the GTA.
as soon as they got to Canada,
Thousands gathered at
Sierra
Celebration
Leone,
Square to speak
they
out
didn't stay
against
here.
racism and police brutality.
Oh, I'm a
680's Zahara
bastard
Hashimi joins us with more
offshoot
from
of
a
not
local MPP on the strategy for change.
In solidarity with Black Lives Matter, chants
Black
rang
Lives
out
Matter, the Illinois
thousands gathered
side
to
of
call
it.
for an end
Understand
to
why.
anti-Black racism.
Well, then
The
the
peaceful
Russians
protest
here,
happened
oh,
near
yeah,
Celebration
oh.
Square. I spoke with
The
NDP
Russians
MPP
walk up to me
and member of
speaking
the
Russian,
Ontario
so
Black Caucus, Kevin Yard, who was at the
that's a
protest.
good
And
conversation
he says
starter.
people are calling for
Friendly,
sweeping
like, not
changes.
angry.
We're
Friendly.
calling for an end to carding.
It's not one of those
And
situations.
that includes destroying all data collected through unconditional carding. We're also calling for justice for Regis Korchinski-Paquette and her family, and legislating anti-racism and as well as de-escalation.
Here's the problem. It says white on the seat pick because you wrote white on the cards like 8,000 fucking times,
Are
eh?
not just American issues, but Canadian as well. He adds that we all
They
need
didn't
to
openly
speak out
ask
if we
me what
hope
I
to
was.
inspire meaningful change.
They wrote
I'm
black,
Zahara Hashimi.
black, black,
680
white,
News Time
black, black. Every
407
fucking time.
south of the border. A new initiative is calling for
They didn't
businesses
ask
to
me
make
what
a
I was. Oh,
pledge
he's a
for
wigger.
reversing shelf
See
space
that
for
wigger
black-owned businesses. The 15% pledge is calling on retailers to delegate at least 15% of their shelf space to
Black First
black-owned
Nations, you
businesses,
moron.
as black people make up 15% of the nation's population.
When the
The
Dutch give me
initiative
my
started
fucking
from
dual
an online
citizenship,
petition
you can
launched
call me
last week after
European.
massive
Fine.
demonstrations
That would
following the
officially
death of
technically
George
make me
Floyd.
white, I
The
think.
pledge was created
Some
by
people
Aurora
would.
James, the founder
No, I
of
don't
a
have the Dutch
Brooklyn-based
citizenship.
sustainable
I
fashion brand.
would, but my
Several businesses
mother and her
released statements
generation
saying
took
that
it
they
totally
stand
for
with
granted.
Black Lives
Oh, we
Matter
could do it,
movement.
but we're not gonna bother. Oh, our kids won't need it. You fucking horse.
Trump administration
I'll
officials are
see
contesting
you.
one of the key points of the protests, that police brutality is a result of systemic racism.
A lot of money you fight over while your kids are in the streets.
Of protesters this weekend.
It's such good
outrage that
parents.
Americans are feeling today about the death of George Floyd is very real. It's very legitimate.
But appearing on ABC's This Week, Acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf challenged the refrain.
I do not think that we have a systemic racism problem with law enforcement officers across this country.
There's always the ghost in the room.
Also on ABC's This Week, Congresswoman Val Demings.
We have been fighting systemic racism in this country for 400 years.
A former police chief, Demings says the nation needs to
Hold police accountable.
examine training standards and use of force policies, and who exactly is being hired in law enforcement. Ben Thomas, Washington.
680 News Time 408. Artists have transformed Graffiti Alley with new murals to show solidarity with anti-racism movements. Melissa McCauley from City News has it more.
Powerful images of prominent black figures in history, as well as those who have died as a result of police brutality, spray painted in this alleyway in Kensington Market. The project is called Paint the City Black. Over 40 artists participated in painting the
Hey,
images
hold on.
in support
Of all the things I've had with the paint, put it on like
found in
paint.
Graffiti Alley between McDougal Lane and Augusta Avenue near Queen and Spadina.
The mural started with a painting of a Black Panther with the words "All power to the
There's
people."
a Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon taught me how to
And
steal
revolutionary
cars, eh? Like how to get
organization known
away
as
with
being
it.
the
That's some
vanguard
crazy
of
shit.
the
That was
civil rights
fucking TV
movement.
back in the day.
680 News is working for you to get you
Canada's not
answers about what
gangster.
you want
They
to
put
know
that
about
in the
COVID-19.
Rocky and Bullwinkle. You can't get more
News
Canadian
listener
than that,
says he's
can
a
you?
59-year-old type 2
Bob
diabetic and has been off work self-isolating
John
since the end of March. He says his employer is now calling him back to work, but he's afraid of contracting COVID-19. He says, "Can I still receive financial assistance if I don't go back?" We went to 680's
Well, the two
go-to
things you have
employment
to
lawyer,
stop.
Stuart Rudner of Rudner Law.
Let him answer it. It's so the Canada is so fucking everything's in triplicate plus 2 languages.
The norm, because they have a medical condition that puts them at higher risk. So they should definitely go to their doctor. They should get clear guidance as to what is and what is not safe for them. They should get that in writing.
You can get your questions answered as well by sending them at 680news.com/answers or call 680 News listener line 416-872-6800.
Coronavirus updates and breaking news.
Oh, I gotta get Corona. Rabdisi Mar, come here. It says I have to get the update to get rid of the COVID-19 virus from the iPhone. No, Father, that's not what that means. You have to wear a mask. If I wear the mask, the phone won't unlock. We have to get the update so the phone will unlock. I didn't call the drug rep DC Mar. You fucking hell. Yeah, they test the drugs over there. That's why I keep making the joke. They do 100 tests over there, studies. They pick the ones that give them the results that are close to what they want. They come here and say, "Oh, we did 2 fucking blind studies." Yeah, what about the other 98 where all the people got sick and died?
So, if milk can do all of that with just a poor,
Poor Red DC Mar.
what can't milk do?
680 News Time.
And they don't pay up here, you get like $3,000, $5,000.
Here's Michael Ranger.
Well, still a quiet drive if you were
That's
out on
enough
the
to
beach
convince
route, so we
somebody
don't have
to
any
do
delays.
something with their body
You'd
they might not
expect this
otherwise
hour
want
of
to
the morning,
do.
but lots of ramps still closed, lots of overnight
It's
construction. Some of it is starting to clear up. Eastbound 401, still no access to the highway from northbound, southbound Mississauga Road. Ramp to Dixie remains closed. The transfer into the express at the 404, that is still shut down. Other side of the highway, westbound 401, northbound Nielsen, northbound Markham Road ramps to the highway, they're both still closed. No access to McAllen. Ramps to and from southbound Allen still shut down. down, and northbound Dufferin, there is no access to the westbound 401. No access onto the southbound 400 from westbound Finch. No access onto the southbound 404 from westbound Stouffville Road. If you're traveling northbound on the 427, transfer into the express at Dundas.
West Stouffville Road don't run north and south into Stouffville? Are you serious? No way. There's a Stouffville Road and it don't run into Stouffville? Or does it turn sideways?
Eastbound and westbound Courtney Park Drive ramps to the southbound 410. They are still closed as well. Looking at city streets, Bloor,
and it's not
eastbound
white
Bloor Street closed
church.
from Dover Court
It's
to
white
Ossington.
church.
That's for a fire
It's not white church.
Westbound lanes were
We just
closed
call it
as well. They have now reopened.
Stouffville.
Next report is at
Spell it how it
4:21 with
sounds.
forecast. Here's all the issue.
Mainly sunny skies on your Monday. A beautiful day is in
No,
store.
we're not
A high of
racist.
26
No, he's
degrees.
right. We definitely got racism, but it's different.
A
Very
nice light
different.
breeze from the south up to 20 kilometers an hour in the afternoon. A low of 13. Tuesday, it heats up even more.
Oh, black and white. There's only two channels, A and B. Left and right. Oh, that's easy. That's easy. That's very easy. Even for someone like me, because if you force my hand, if you make it so I can walk around saying I'm black. all I
Downtown
want.
Toronto right now, 13
If all the white
degrees
people say
above
no,
cloudy
you're white,
sky,
and all the
and
black
upper
people say no,
Pearson
you're white.
Airport, similar conditions there, and 12.
Up
now
here,
the
we
weather
got
is looking
fucking
better.
200
The
fucking
Canada Border
languages.
Service Agency is reminding everyone hitting the water that
Sorry, no,
cross-border
300, it's
tourism
200
is
fucking
prohibited.
areas of the
The
world.
federal
yeah.
government introduced border restrictions to limit the spread of COVID-19. Authorities say boaters who
They
enter the
print things
country
up in like
without
36 or
reporting
48
it
languages
to the
standard for the
CBSA
city.
could face severe penalties or even criminal charges. The minimum penalty for failing to report to the CBSA after entering the country is $1,000
Calendars in
fine.
7 languages.
City News Time,
That's all you
413.
can fit.
Hi, Tom
Practice.
Rokicki here of Inline Fiberglass Windows and Doors. Now, more than ever, it's important we buy Canadian. You'd be surprised as to how many big-name window companies import their windows from cross-border manufacturing plants. Inline Fiberglass proudly
You are a
engineers...
fucking weirdo, bro.
Difficile de croire qu'on se trouve encore à ce moment dans une zone des plus touchées par le coronavirus aux États-Unis.
But as far as, feeling like, oh, there's a virus going around and people are dying, no, I really don't feel it around here. If everything was open like normal, you wouldn't think that there's a pandemic going on.
On ne sent pas qu'il y a une
Standing next to ice cream
les gens
truck.
de leurs 10 résidents de la Virginie voisine.
It's 10 seconds of silence.
Just for instance, the same equivalent as a fentanyl in the insects. Ridiculous. Most cats just be like licorice. I eat they food fast, smoke niggas similar to cigarettes. You take me at for the cash, give her the ass off, belong to burn the fast, leave you colder than the NUJ. Rep the team, die. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. Best be holding the tongue to play off where the soldiers is from. Rep the team, die, know you'll set me hot. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. You ain't come back in, best be holding your tongue to play off where the soldiers is from. I'm from the city where they keep it gully. Gritty niggas robbing out of city niggas, homie. Checking trees, spilling like gold tears. All we do is hold G's. So please, you small time like the little leagues. Pussy niggas bleed when they fuck with me. Turn like a track star when they fuck with me. I ain't fuck shot, but I fuck shots, homie. I pack the hollows for the cops only. It's all real. In the hood, they call me abs and still. Beside my abs, they're still. I make you feel still in your abs for real. Cook coke like a gourmet chef, perfection. See my dope flow stack up, erection. That's right. Mention me getting love and hoes. Attention, we don't love them hoes. Lazy spark the draw, double crack them off. Niggas don't want food cause they lack the toast. Yeah, rep the T-Dot, know you'll set me high. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. Best be holding your tongue to play off where the soldiers is from. Yeah, rep the T-Dot, know you'll set me high. Big shots, nigga, rep your block. You ain't come back, best be holding your tongue to play off where the soldiers is from.
It hurts if I lift the leg up under its own power. And I'm not going to do that to It's not some old days. Oh, I used to play football. It's like, no, I'm not a baller. I don't think I have to. I do, but I don't.
I'm from the West End. I'm from
That was the game of choice in my
I'm
neighborhood.
from the West End.
We didn't have hoops. We had a fucking little square and an X on the fucking wall.
West End. I'm from the West End.
tennis ball, right? Yeah, because we couldn't find a basketball on the board.
Move from the Jane to the West End. Watch how you talk when you walk through my hood, cause you know that my niggas be pressing. Heavy artillery weapons. Ain't really into the questions. I ain't condoning no violence. The youngins are wildin', they move kind of reckless. Got the keys, police stay patting niggas. Stay cheese, I'm familiar face taxing niggas. Safety, didn't even wanna slap the nigga, he made me. Ain't nobody telling me nothing. I knew from a youngin' that I be the one I hit starting. Now all of these rappers is bugging. You live in the burbs and you act like you came up from nothing. Shout out to my niggas on Gaza. Lane to connection, Southside Gaza. When I roll my backwood, better have Brava. Never leave the house without my iPhone charger. Wallahi, my mom is a
but they can't get a hold of
him. Mustafa. African man, that's my barber. Jamaican man, that's my shopper. Tell him the truth. Tell them the truth. These rappers, they lie in the booth. Lie in the booth. But then got the realest, just look at the proof. I'm living proof. The city's so litty cause we got the juice. We got the juice. So we got the juice. I'm from the West End. I'm from the West End. Nigga, what you saying? I'm from the West End. I'm from the West End. Nigga, what you saying? Bench strip, jungle to the Rex we deep. I can tell a West End nigga by the way you speak, Birds chirping loud in the hood, always lose they beaks. Know that shotty with bodies got dumped in the creek. Stop, freeze, what I mean looking for me. The chick I got that degree, what do you mean? Bitch, you don't know what I seen. Bitch, you ain't been on the scene. Record is clean, I'm too wavy. Man, cause your man wanna date me. I got the sauce, gravy. More than they cannot replace me. Cause I'm from the West End. Bitch, nigga better watch that top. I'm fine, now you talk to the cops. Don't wanna turn hot on your block. I'm from the West End. So you claim you a bad man, but y'all what a bad girl crew. Let me show you what a bad girl do. But you didn't know that. I'm from the West End. I'm from the West End. Nigga, what you saying? I'm from the West End. I'm from the West End. Nigga, what you saying?
What you saying, girl?
All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no reason. You understand? I just had a premonition last night. It's when I started reminiscing last night. All your homies stabbed me in my back twice. That's the choice you're making, that's the price you fucking pay. Like, I just had a premonition last night. It's when I started reminiscing last night. All your homies stabbed me in my back twice. That's the choice you're making, that's the price you fucking pay. Like this, that, doing donuts in the lot. Don't stop at a red light. Stop, walk a block, on the clock. Jump and walk on the clock. Mama said I've been walking. I don't know, go ham in the sand, what you saying? Straight back to the crib, big bucks, I'm only with a couple real ones that I miss, another one a piece of shit. I just had a premonition last night. It's when I started reminiscing last night. I don't know, that's the choice you're making, that's the price you fucking pay. Like, making shit pop like last night. It's when I started reminiscing last night. I don't know, you got me in my back twice. That's the choice you made that once in my last life.
I want to be buried in the pet cemetery. Oh, come on.
Nah, they gonna just start cycling, no?
Free up the youth, man.
See?
Free six, free kilo, free John, free OG.
Go hard leg clothing, body's DBS, all black on my clothing. Excellent, that's how we rolled in. Put it to you, have you drunk like the rose in, but you in your mouth, taking all your gold in. Put it to your next man, now it's next frozen. Now I'm dipping in the stolen, creeping in, I'm scoping. I see him leave him open. Big large gunners, no poking. Pop off the big, your head's open. Now you're floating. The body stays stiff in the ocean. Cruising with some deadly fish, so your body ain't exposing. DBS, how we're chosen. So I hunt for the golden. Don't care if it's stolen. But pop, if you owe him. The black flag always hold him. 5 deep, we be rolling. 10 guns, we be holding. 2 each, so we going. The headshot, so you go spin.
Niggas not tryna see me with the DBS, cause you know the niggas I'm with, get it poppin'. Strap on my waist, you can tell by how I'm walking. Back left, you can lie right in the coffin. I remember I almost got caught sleeping, shit had me tripping. On this block I'm sitting, call it camping, my niggas had me snapping. Now I'm sitting here, plotting on my enemy. Had to get my own strap, niggas ain't friend for me. I'm fat blood, and some Hennessy, just to level me. This beat sounds heartfelt. Big bullets make the biggest niggas melt. That's the yes, nigga.
Upside, nigga, nigga. Every nigga I roll with call them scavengers. Somebody strapping the beat, so mad at the caliber. Deal with you right, ain't no getting back at us. Do what I gotta, then I'm dipping in the Avenger. Back to the bricks. Doing the usual way. Felt like he was trying to hide, so I had to shoot a few. Gotta expect it, you know how down bottom shooters do.
Don't do that. Don't dare move your foot 2 inches to the right. Gee, okay, you waste bastard.
Means you have money for groceries. The isolation, being broke and totally scared about what's next. I was feeling that before this crisis.
What I hate,
People say we're
they
in
told
this
us
together,
already they
but
only
me,
use actors for this
I've
shit.
got no one.
Years ago.
Youth who have aged out of the
Photos, they
child
won't
welfare
use us
system
for
are in danger of falling
COVID
further
system.
through the
I
cracks
don't know
because
what
of
it's
today's crisis. They need your support. Please give today at helpyouthnow.ca.
I don't know who that company is.
Exciting news.
I worked in this industry
A bronze
forever.
chest filled with gold, jewels, and other valuables worth more than
burnout
$1 million.
I ain't burned
And
out.
a
I-
hidden decade
You
ago
look.
somewhere in
People
the
ain't trying
Rocky
to
Mountain
fix nothing.
wilderness has been found.
The chest, buried by New Mexico author and antiques dealer Forrest Fenn. The only clues hidden in a 24-line poem from his 2010 autobiography, The Thrill of the Chase. Fenn spoke with our Clayton Sandell in 2018.
In 1988, I was diagnosed with what everybody thought was terminal cancer. But besides that, we were going into a recession, and I just wanted to give some people hope.
The 89-year-old told the Santa Fe New Mexican that a treasure hunter
they don't
located
have
the
any
chest
money.
3 days ago and sent him a photo for confirmation. Coming up next,
What do you
your
think,
business report, 680 News Time, 4:25.
You were Chad. I think what they
This
said.
is your breaking news station, 680 News. Medio Debt Solutions understands that uncertain times can put a strain on
And
your
what
finances.
ancient culture did you
Finding
steal
it
that from,
difficult
by
to
the
cover
way?
your monthly expenses, keep up with minimum payments, and
When he
manage your
dug
debt
it
work.
up and he saw
A
his
BDO
now,
licensed
whose
insolvency
land did
trustee
you hide it?
will provide a free over-the-phone consultation.
Gloves in each hoodie, black socks fitted too black. I'm about to get down to my business. Deal with them on the ones, no need for a witness. Hand me the ratchet, call me Mr. Fix It. Learn from my bro, no need for shooting if you miss it. Stop complaining, every day is a gift.
7 Select. Oh, minus 6. I thought it was 7-Eleven. It's 7 Select. That's why it's $8 fucking dollars. I still,
and I be trained so I aim with precision. Hit them in this six-pack, nigga believe that's done. Tree 2 and it only costs a G-stack. Something that it's only half of the re-end. Double lemon DBS, know that we bang, know that we bang. Bam, bam, bam. Get it in the T.O. everywhere that we go. Niggas know how we roll, deeper than the mark. Before I let the heat blow, creeping on you motherfuckers, just to let you know. I ain't sleeping on you motherfuckers, just to let you know that I'm ready and I'm firing. When I come through, nigga, don't be hiding. If I get caught, toss the Glock, then I'm lying. Don't claim it's on them, slowly be dying. You can find me in the slowly riding. If I'm strapped up, let's believe it's on the waist. Roll me strapped up, put the strap in your face. I was on the block, posted up front page, trying to get dropping every other way, still trying to get dropped, looking for a better day. Mommy's on my back, cause she heard I'm getting paid. But what can I say? Mommy knows that I'm safe. I either got the Smith or the 5th. Strapping on my waist, snitching on my niggas. I gotta catch the case too. My niggas got served on this same day. Rest in peace to my niggas C and J. Plus free, all my niggas locked struggling in the cage. Shut out, PM Black Movement.
Ford cars, they moved in the opposite direction, seeing a 61% decrease in popularity. But for those that do have a travel card, Castaldo says your points are not going anywhere.
If Canadians have some confidence that they're going to be traveling the next little while, maybe not the right time to switch, but I think just the sheer amount of uncertainty is what's been causing a lot of people to say, hey,
where's the
I cannot
healthcare?
travel for the next year, so let me switch towards something that...
Why? I think one of the ways people are going to get caught up, they're going to come up with some retro. Oh, you can't be collecting assistance and also traveling internationally, and blah, blah, blah.
You can manage the debt responsibly, and you're thinking about the cards you take on in a responsible way, similar to any sort of investment portfolio, then I think it's actually a quite pervasive myth that it's inherently a bad thing to have more than one credit card.
They got the money, use it to pay off something, and then the government says, oh, you didn't really pay it off.
Just as carefully as you might about the stocks that you would add to your portfolio.
Mikhail Castaldo is the business unit manager for credit cards and investing at RateHub.ca. At the business center,
people see people on the Packer bills going, look,
Put us on.
I paid them the $22,000 for here. It says I owe them $85,000. Like bullshit like that.
We're all
They're
sharing
billing
a
people that
similar
somebody got a bill for like 20 grand
More of our
for a
time
property with a
online,
hydrometer
listening
isn't
to
connected to
radio,
it.
podcasts, and watching TV.
Like
If
the
your
meter's
business is
connected to
working
the
hard to serve your
supply,
customers,
like
you
you
should
could
let
get
them
electricity.
know.
There's
You have
nothing,
their
no
attention.
device,
You know
nothing
where
plugged
they
into the
are.
meter.
You know what
20
they're
grand.
doing. You kind of even know how they're feeling
They said
because
they were
you're feeling
fucking
it all
glad
too.
that they had
You
not
have the
set up the
opportunity
direct
to
debit
speak
from their bank
directly
account.
to
Because
them.
you'll never
Let
see
us
that
help
money
you
again.
find
Oh,
your
you'll get a
company's
credit.
voice.
Yeah,
Visit
fuck you.
RogersSportsAndMedia.com today. That's RogersSportsAndMedia.com.
Why? We elected Dougie.
Talking about jolly old chaps.
Yes, the jolly old
Kathleen
chaps
went to
made
the
by
pod, the
Steel.
comp
What
store.
are these said chaps, good sir?
They're chainsaw cutters, chaps, in orange or camel.
Electricity
Or we have their steel
privatization,
cutters
semi.
kits, which
What the
include a
fuck?
helmet, hearing protection, glasses,
made
and
the
chaps
province,
for only
the owner,
$119.95.
I bet dads would
of
love
all the
steel chaps
wires
or a
that
cutters
connect
kit this
power
Father's Day.
generators to the
I'm
power
sure they
consumers.
would.
Okay.
Jolly old chaps like
They're the
that
market
deserve a
maker.
gift from
They're
Steel and
regulated.
Coy Brothers.
KOOYBROS.com.
That company got
Weather forecast.
semi-privatized. There's a whole shitload of people out there that own a piece of it, and then the government owns a piece of it.
The 680 News weather
Fine.
Enter
Oh,
online.
we have to return profits to shareholders. Don't we own that? Yeah, but they own it too. What? How do you have half?
Conditions in Brampton, Milton, and Oakville. 13 degrees in Ajax. Similar conditions in Pickering and Oshawa.
So you hear electricity
Take a
coming
look
up over and
further
over,
in
and you might think
Bradford,
that sounds like a
10
small
degrees
problem.
in a clear
There's
sky.
1,000 of these
Downtown
small
Toronto,
problems
13
coming up with our
degrees and
electricity
partly
system.
cloudy. The news
We
will
invented
never
the can-do
stop.
reactor. We don't
680
even
News is
hydroelectric
CFTR
are crazy.
AM
You can't
Toronto.
solve
Listen
electricity.
3, 4, 5 times a day, and you'll always be in the know. 680 News time, 4:30.
We sell electrical generating capacity to other countries, but we can't do it here.
680 News.
Good morning. This is Monday, June the 8th. I'm Veronica Thor. And I'm Madison
Thank you. I
Fitzpatrick.
needed
Here's
that.
what's making
I
news
needed
this
that.
hour.
History made in Minneapolis
This is
as the
it.
city council votes to dismantle their police department.
Well, this band.
Mourners are getting ready to lay George
We're turning the
Floyd
old
to
14
rest
division
in
into a
Houston,
homeless shelter.
Texas. A 6-hour viewing is set for today ahead of a funeral service tomorrow.
Black Lives Matter demonstrations in the U.S. continue to draw out thousands of protesters. This as the officer charged in the killing of George Floyd is set to make his first appearance in court.
Thousands took part in a demonstration in Mississauga on Sunday calling for Peel Police to wear body cameras.
Thousands.
Another win for Kevin Harvick on the NASCAR circuit. The notorious MMA announcing his retirement again from UFC, and more scores from Bundesliga. Sports at 45.
Now, how pathetic is this for a sports
To a
report?
Toronto business owner about the changes she has made to keep her customers
Two
during
chicks
the
had a fight. Some
COVID-19
dude came out and
pandemic.
said he retired for the third time.
680
Wonderfully. Oh, and the Honda Indy was in
Weather
Texas.
together on the ones. Here's Michael Ranger.
Yeah, the
More and more
90s,
of
the
the
more.
overnight construction that we had this morning is starting to clear
The
up.
80s,
Still
no
some
more.
ramps that are closed. Eastbound 401, northbound, southbound Mississauga Road ramps to the
5.0s and
highway. They are still
IRCs
shut
all
down. The
day.
ramp to Dixie Road, that one has now reopened.
I heard
The transfer into the express
decade
at the
and a half,
404 that is still shut down. Westbound 401, northbound Nielsen, northbound Markham Road ramps to the highway, both still closed. No access to McCowan. Ramps to and from southbound Allen. Island shut down. No access onto the westbound 401 from northbound Dufferin. No access to the southbound 400 from westbound Finch. No access onto the southbound 404 from westbound Stouffville Road. If you're traveling northbound on the 427, transfer into the express at Dundas is shut down. Eastbound, westbound Finch Avenue ramps to the north 427, they are closed. And the ramps to the 407, both directions from the north 427, they remain closed as well. Eastbound and westbound Courtney Park Drive ramps to the southbound 410 are still shut down. Looking at city streets, we've got a problem on eastbound at Bloor from Dover Court to Ossington. It is closed for a fire investigation. Next report is at 4:41 with your forecast. Here's Malia Sheikh.
We are hitting 26 degrees as our daytime high. Mainly sunny skies on your Monday. A UV index of 9, which is very high, so make sure you do protect your skin, and a low 13. Your high for today, 26 degrees.
Downtown Toronto right now, 13 degrees under a partly cloudy sky, and over at Pearson Airport, similar conditions there, and 12. 6 City News time, 4:33. After almost 2 weeks of protesting against anti-Black racism, a historic move has been made by Minneapolis City Council. 6 City's James Mackin has the details.
Minneapolis City Council has voted to disband the Minneapolis Police Department after the death of 46-year-old George Floyd while in police custody. Floyd's death has sparked nearly 2 weeks of protests across the world, with demonstrations protesting against systemic racism and police violence. On Friday, the City Council voted to prohibit police from using chokeholds and neck restraints, the method in which Floyd died. 9 out of 12 members voted in favor of disbanding the police department, making this a veto-proof majority. This move represents a turning point for liberal activists who've been trying to reform police departments throughout the nation. Council members said on Sunday they don't have specific plans for how to replace the police department, but they will start by working with the community. I'm James Mackin.
As demonstrations continue across the U.S. demanding change, funeral services for George Floyd start in Houston today.
George Floyd will be laid to rest in Houston, where he was raised. His death in police custody sparking national outrage and demands for reform. Thousands showed up for memorial services in North Carolina and Minneapolis, and vigils were held around the world. Former Vice President Joe Biden plans to offer condolences to the family in person. The presumptive Democratic presidential nominee will also record a video message for the funeral. Services Monday are followed by a 6-hour viewing. Burial is set for Tuesday in the Houston suburb of Pearland. Lionel Moise, ABC News.
Some American cities have started to lift their curfews thanks to increasingly peaceful protests. And as demonstrations continue, 6 Cities' Michelle Mackey shares a major announcement from the mayor of New York City.
After peaceful protests in Chicago, Philadelphia, and New York this weekend, the cities are lifting their curfews. CNN's Evan McMorris Santoro is in Times Square.
The protesters who've been saying that they've had a peaceful movement and the curfew is unnecessary have won that argument. And so the mayor has lifted the curfew a day early, and that means that the city that never sleeps can go back to being out all night again.
NYC Mayor Bill de Blasio is also announcing a wave of police reforms, including defunding.
We will be moving funding from the NYPD to youth initiatives and social services.
The move comes as Officer Derek Chauvin is set to make his first appearance Monday afternoon in Minnesota, charged with second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter in the death of George Floyd. I'm Michelle Mackey.
Back here at home in Mississauga, thousands of protesters made their voices heard on Sunday, speaking out against racism and police brutality. 680's Zahir Hashimi has the latest, including ideas from a local MPP on what needs to change.
Demonstrators chanting Black Lives Matter marched around Celebration Square. I spoke with NDP MPP and member of the Ontario Black Caucus, Kevin Yard, and he says they were at the protest calling for an end to carding, justice for Regis Korchinski-Paquette, and more.
Well, there's quite a few changes. We're calling for anti-Black racism to be declared a public health crisis, and we've been calling for that for quite some time. So that obviously means enhancing accountability to address police violence, systemic biases.
When I think I'm ready to defend myself, I'm not tripping.
Nothing's going to happen.
Yard says we also need to fight
you don't like that.
legislation
Yeah,
and
South
we need more
Africa,
de-escalation training and police
Deep South, they
services.
know
He adds
exactly
that
what the
everyone
fuck
needs to
Don't
speak
fuck
out
around
if we
and
want
pretend.
to invoke any meaningful change.
What are you
I'm
fucking
Zahir
arguments
Hashimi.
if I had with
6
cops
City
about
News
what I
time,
am?
4:36, and the
Hey, my
Confederate
friend,
statue
your
has been
ass is
taken
in
down
jail.
from its pedestal in Richmond, Virginia, but state and city officials
But
had
not no
nothing
such
to
a
do
thing.
with
You're
it.
gonna lie.
Last week, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam announced that
Oh,
the
you're being
statue
a
of
wigger,
General
buddy.
Robert E.
I'm
Lee
punching
would be
your
removed
goddamn
soon.
face in front
late Saturday, after largely peaceful protests in Richmond, a small group of demonstrators decided to take matters in their own hands and pull down the statue of General Williams Carter Wickham from its pedestal in Monroe Park, where it stood since 1891. The Richmond Times-Dispatch reported that there appeared to be red paint splashed or sprayed on the statue, and someone also urinated on it. It's unknown if there were any arrests. Some of Wickham's descendants urged the city to remove the statue in 2017. Todd Ant, ABC News.
From the nigga hood.
Anti-black racism protests have erupted across the world, with several in various cities, including Montreal.
A second Sunday
Never caught me with a white person ever doing anything, ever.
Racism
Except the odd one that when you're bothering me will walk up and say, what's going on? And you tell me to back up and you check them. They got fucking big on records on there. They don't want to fucking you bother me. They don't give a fuck.
Also to show our unity, but also just to be able to mobilize and to show that we're not alone in this fight.
On Friday, Montreal police
is
chief
easy.
Sylvain
I got
Caron
those.
asked to be invited to
You
the
can't
march,
just
and
pull strings and
organizers had
make favors
accepted.
happen.
But
It's
on
not like the
Saturday,
movie.
that changed.
When the community
Doesn't work
itself
like that,
responded
you're
said they weren't ready for it yet, we withdrew the invitation.
The peaceful protest started as a rally at Place Émilie Gamelin. Then tens of thousands flooded the streets to have their voices heard. In Montreal, Alicia Rubertucci, City News. 680 News Time, 4:38. Public Safety Minister Bill Blair says the government will be paying close attention to the independent inquiry into allegations of racism and police brutality brought forward by a First Nations chief. Athabasca Chief Alan Adam alleges he was beaten by RCMP officers and that his wife was manhandled in March when police stopped him for an expired license plate outside a casino in Fort McMurray.
She get up in your
Indigenous
face and you
Services
can't step
Minister
back.
Mark
She
Miller
better
says
be
in a
okay. She
tweet
probably
that
did,
he's
but
spoken
nigga, you don't
twice with
fucking
Adam and that he was disturbed by
Did she
what
pull a
the
knife
chief
on you or
told
something? Because
him.
that happened. No, she
Adam
did.
is
Because
facing
you're not
charges
her
of
man.
resisting
That's
arrest
not, you're
and
fucking
insulting
playing
police,
games with
and
the
RCMP
police.
say
Don't matter.
the
You're gonna get
officers
fucked up.
needed to use force during the arrest.
Bullshit.
Toronto
You
police
had
are
to kill off
investigating
the
reports
Eskimo
of a
dogs
shooting
because
in
they were a health
Scarborough.
hazard,
Police were
according to
called to
who?
the Port Union Road
Well,
and
we
Roseville
decided.
Road area after multiple gunshots, people screaming, and
dogs are
vehicles
shoot.
fleeing the area were reported.
Your
When
wife very
officers
funny,
arrived,
but-
they found shell casings in the area,
Oh, not
but
me.
there have been no
Some
reported
nasty
injuries.
team shit.
The witness says they saw multiple vehicles, including two dark-colored sedans leaving southbound on Port Union. There were road closures, but they've since cleared. Police are asking any witnesses to come forward. 680 News Time, 4:39. New Zealand's leader says she's confident the spread of COVID-19 has now stopped in the country. ABC's Chuck Severson reports.
The last known COVID-19 infected person in the country's recovered, says New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. She says she's confident the spread stopped, also because it's been 17 days since the last new case was reported, while 40,000 have been tested in that time. And it's the first time since late February that there have been no active cases. As the next phase of reopening happens, New Zealand continues isolation and quarantine.
Black people houses lit up. Oh, poor people houses. Let's be real. We don't call them black neighborhoods because they're mixed neighborhoods. We don't fucking see the race the way you do. We're curious about each other's race. We don't. I don't know why people were supposedly the majority in this country. I don't believe that still. It's still
News.com.
Now, the 680 News
Usually I have
gas
a hard
price
time telling
update
y'all apart.
and
Doesn't mean I
says the
think
price
there's
did
more
not
of you.
change at midnight. It's holding at $1.09 a
I wanna
liter at
commit you
most
to memory,
GTA
really.
stations. Coming up in 30 seconds, traffic and weather together on the ones. 680 News Time,
Poor
440.
people housing lit up. A lot of people in morning supposedly can't sleep because all
Hot
this
weather
stress
means your
over
air
the deck.
conditioner needs to work.
Lights up.
If you need repairs or a
I
replacement,
can tell the difference in
Reliance Home
buildings.
Comfort answers your call 24/7. We're taking every precaution to keep you safe, and we're ready to help with deferred payments and no interest for 18 months on featured air conditioners. And as always, you can count on our next day installation guarantee. When you need air conditioner help now,
From here, it's all lit up.
Reliance. Financing OAC. Interest accrues from end of deferral period. Conditions apply. See website for details.
Can't see what you're doing per
680
se, but
News
if somebody
Time,
wanted to,
441.
maybe
It's time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Michael Ranger.
We're still looking at some ramp closures on your major routes. It's just overnight construction that has yet to clear up. Eastbound 401, northbound, southbound Mississauga Road ramps to the highway, they remain closed. Transfer into the express at the 404 DVP, that is still shut down as well. Westbound 401, northbound Nielsen, northbound Markham Road ramps to the highway are closed. No access to McCowan. Ramps to and from southbound Allen, they are shut down. Northbound Dufferin, there's no access onto the westbound 401. No access onto the southbound 404 from westbound Stouffville Road. No access onto the southbound 400 from westbound Finch Avenue. If you're traveling northbound rather on 427, transfer into the express at Dundas, that's shut down. Eastbound and westbound Finch ramps to the northbound 427, they are still closed, and there's no access to the 407 in either direction from the northbound 427. Eastbound and westbound Courtney Park Drive ramps to the southbound 410, they remain shut down. Looking at city streets, eastbound Bloor is closed from Dovercourt to Ossington. That is for an ongoing fire investigation. Next report is at 451 with your forecast. Here's Malia Sheikh.
A daytime high of 26 degrees on your Monday. Mainly sunny conditions with a UV index of 9, which is very high. So make sure you do protect your skin. A low of 13. Tuesday, it heats up to a daytime high of 33 degrees. So you might feel a little bit sticky, a little bit uncomfortable if you are outside for a longer period of time. Keep hydrated. Sunny skies though, a low of 19. Your high for today, 26 degrees.
And right now downtown, we're sitting at 13 degrees with a partly cloudy sky. Similar conditions at Pearson Airport, a bit chillier there, 11 degrees. Provincial police west of Barrie, Ontario say an 11-year-old boy has died after he was hit by a pickup truck. They say the incident happened around 8:30 Thursday night in Angus. The boy was taken by helicopter to a Toronto area hospital where he was later pronounced dead early Sunday morning. Investigators say they understand the community will be impacted by the incident, and they encourage people to reach out for support. 680 News Time, 443.
Your home is your castle, your refuge, your safe place.
Quality of life begins at home.
And family safety and security begin at home.
Our job at 1-800-GOT-JUNK is to make junk.
What's that white Chinese drunk? Sir, we don't handle that. Oh, goddamn, nobody wants this shit.
The devil free cast. What up? Yeah, they ain't stopping us, eh? They ain't stopping us. Nah. Check it.
I don't like sarge, man. Jeez, I like sarge.
I was born to grow up abandoned and poor. Take medications that make me tired and also sore. I never asked for this, it just kinda came. Now I'm trying to make money, I'm after the fame. Parents blame me for everything that went bad. My dad was an alcoholic, he drank till he passed. I lived in constant doubt, I always had to shout to get my point across. I lived in about 100 different group homes, never had the same bed for a month. I felt alone, they kept on changing my meds, they kept on changing my mood. My parents kicked me out when I was 12, it's nothing new, that's how I was raised. Went through all elementary school getting hazed. I met this girl, our friendship went terribly wrong, but that's just another reason for emotion in this song. Life is what you make it, through the thick and the thin.
No, I hate it when you do that to me. My DJ's in a coma for letting the record skip. Oh, we got 4 minutes to go. I think I have the volume for morning, waiting to be outside on the corner. For months, goodbye to been out on the beat long global.
I'm just dealing with my poison, I can get it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just dealing with my poison, I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just dealing with my poison, I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop. I'm just dealing with my poison, I can hit it so whoop, so whoop, so whoop.
I know it's a total fucking hit clip for music
I don't knock, I don't pick locks. I kick doors down and let go shots. Call me hot shot, real life nightmare. And the S I make niggas cry gangsta tears. No alcohol, no beer. Like Freddy, I'll kill you in your nightmares. Where the cash at? Where the stash at? Fuck around, we gon' find where your girl's at. She's in the strip on the floor like a doormat. Break your breath up blue sky, cause you know you whack. Bulldogs, that's what you thinking of a rap. This ain't fiction, when you thinking of a rap. 1 crib, 2 cribs, 3 cribs, 4. Bulldog nigga, 6 bloods on the floor. 1 cribs, 2 cribs, 3 cribs, 4. Bulldog nigga, 6 bloods on the floor. Booyah!
Technically, I'm not the news fed blood, so technically I'm bleeding one from the lungs of it.
Coming into no matter what, by the window, by the door. Yeah, speaking on the lock for the door. That's a show, cause we know what you got on the stove, on the table, and your money's in the box. So I'm picking on the back, coming through the door, blasting. No move, nothing to ask. One bad move, then you get your ass kicked. Yo, I'm not in the mood, so the peach gas. You see the eyes of a wolf, and I hope you see it. Cold goes around, so your ass is frozen. Wolf, motherfucker, now you about to get defeated. Now bad, you the one who chose it. I know we able to get no options, not more made, but a man on a mission. It's not a good dream, but a bad situation. More like a nightmare, you a hard victim. One night, 2 night, 3 night, 4. No upstairs, so I'm coming in too. 1 night, 2 night, 3 night, 4. One night, stairs, so I'm coming in too. 1 night, 2 night, 3 night, 4. No upstairs, so I'm coming in too. 1 night, 2 night, 3 night, 4. One night, stairs, so I'm coming in too.
Lashing its way
north. No, there's a tropical storm coming. They see it in the crystal ball. They see it in the crystal ball.
Storm hitting New Orleans on Sunday evening.
Yeah, I could pass through that. I could be with you. I don't think at this age just yet I could be the bomb leader.
Alabama.
But I could be like the guy that
Dangerous storm
answers the
surge
door.
warnings remain in effect for southeast Louisiana and coastal Mississippi. 680 News Time, 4:49. If you found a wallet on the ground with $20 in it, would you try to return it for cash and all? What if there was $200 in it, or $2,000? 680's Curtis Doring has the details about a big global study which took a look at just that, and the results might surprise you.
Psychologists have noticed something pretty consistent about human behavior. People work hard to protect their self-image. And there's compelling evidence for this published in the journal Science. Researchers planted over 17,000 wallets in 355 cities around the world. Each contained the contact information for a man listed as a freelance software engineer, along with a key and a grocery list. And some of them contained the equivalent of about $13 US in local currency. A research assistant would take the wallet, walk into a public building, and say to the receptionist,
Hi, if I'm on the street around the corner, somebody must have lost it. I'm in a hurry and have to go. Can you please take care of it?
in the vast majority of cases, more people eat to return wallets containing cash than those without. When the researchers tried the experiment again with over 90
So
bucks
the
in
one of your
wallets
stupid
this time, the
prepaid
results
carrier
were
envelopes, you
even
got 100 of in the drawer. and
72% tried to return those big money wallets. Now, altruism plays a role in this, sure, but few people like to see themselves as thieves, and that weighs against the material benefits of dishonesty. With This Week in Science, I'm Curtis Doring.
Yeah, but $13 on a grocery list. Like, did they all have $13?
Weather together on the ones with
You know how
Toronto's
desperate
most
people
frequent
are? Don't
traffic
fucking
reports.
judge
Here's
people for
Michael
spending
Ranger.
$13.
This report brought to you by Serpa
It costs
Motorsports.
them that much fucking money to figure out how to get it back to
Starting
you.
to clear up now. Eastbound 401, northbound,
The
southbound
minimum wage up
Mississauga
here is
Road ramps
$15
onto the
an hour.
highway.
If you pay
They
your
were
own time.
closed. They have
Yeah,
now
so
reopened.
I would drop
Transferred to
the wallet
express
in
at
the
404
mailbox.
DVP. That
$13
remains shut down.
cash.
Westbound side of the highway,
Mailman
northbound
doesn't have
Nielsen,
the
northbound Marco
temptation.
Road ramps to the westbound
What's he
401
thinking?
still closed. No
Fucking
access to
test? Yeah,
McAllen.
it is a
Ramps to
test.
and from
See?
southbound Allen are shut down.
Here are the
Northbound
tests.
Dufferin.
Everybody,
There's no
what the
access to
fuck?
the west 401. No access to the southbound 400 from westbound Finch. No access onto the southbound 404 from westbound Stouffville Road.
2000, I keep the money. I
Traveling
wouldn't look
northbound
for
to the
your fucking
427
name. I'd
transfer
drop
to the
that
express
shit.
at Dundas. That's still shut down. Eastbound and westbound Finch ramps onto the
No, I
highway. They have
returned
now reopened.
a crown attorney's
Northbound
purse.
427 ramps to the 407. They were
I was
closed.
laying on the
Eastbound
sidewalk.
and westbound
See,
Courtney
colors
Park Drive
of the
ramp onto
sidewalk.
the southbound
Sun's
410. They
beating
have
down on
reopened
me.
as
It's
well.
a shadow.
City Streets
It
eastbound
hurts.
Bloor, it is closed from Dovercourt to Ossington. That is for a
I'm
fire
used to seeing hooker
investigation.
shit all
Serpa
over the
Motorsports,
place.
Yonge Street, Aurora,
This is
featuring
not all
fine
beat up and
Suzuki
shit.
products, exclusive one-price online store, full model lineup. Call Serpa Motorsports now and experience
Wallet
100%
has a driver's
white glove
license. There.
service.
This woman
Next
don't
report
update
is
her
at
driver's license.
5:01
No,
with the forecast.
the
Here's
house
Malia
has been
Shake.
sold. She don't live there. She used to live 2 blocks from me. I
Degrees on
didn't
your
know that.
Monday. You're certainly going to want to be eating your lunch outdoors. It's going to be a beautiful
So I
day.
look up the
Warmer
name
than
and what
our
comes up
average
is
high
the
of
fucking
23.
crown of
A
30s.
UV index of 9, which is very high though, so make sure
Now I
you do
feel like I'm
protect your
being
skin.
set
A
up. I
low
think the cops are
13.
going to come to my house
Tuesday,
when I
it
try
gets
to
a little
find
bit
her.
uncomfortable. A
No, she
daytime
came
high of
herself
33,
with her
sunny
kid.
skies, and low of 19.
Little
Wednesday,
kid.
we're still hanging on to the 30s. A daytime high of 31 with a 40% chance for showers.
If
A
you
low
look
of
through the wallet,
17.
there's like,
Your
I
high
think there
for
was like
today,
180 or 200
26
bucks or
degrees.
something in there.
Right now in downtown Toronto, partly
what's sticking
cloudy
out
and
first,
13
and then you look for
degrees.
ID.
Similar conditions at
Address
Pearson
don't match.
Airport.
No, I didn't go through the whole purse. I found the
6:80
license
time,
easy.
4:53.
Address is 2
We
blocks from my
believe in
house.
being accountable to you,
House has been
the
sold.
listener,
But the electricity
which is
meter
why
ain't
we're
even
a member
spinning.
of the Canadian Broadcast Standards Council. As a member,
Yeah, I have
we
a
are
computer
committed
and
to
the internet.
upholding the highest standards of
Because I'm working all the
broadcasting
goddamn
and
time.
adhering to specific codes of conduct.
I wouldn't have
If you have
that.
a comment on what
Look
you've
it up.
heard, contact us or visit the
She looks in the
CBSC's
fucking, she opens
website,
the purse and the wallet's on top.
We'll respond to your concerns and send
I
you
don't remember.
information
That's
on
how
the
I found it.
council
It's the first
and
thing I
its
pulled
codes.
out. And fucking
Coming up at the first at 5 with Mitch
money's
Burke and Laura
there.
Carney, the latest on City
$200
Council
sticks
in
out. It's not
Minneapolis
one
voting to
banknote.
disband the local police
Just,
department in the wake of
yeah,
the
she
death
hands
of
me one.
George
She didn't go,
Floyd
oh,
2
well, there's
weeks
this much.
ago.
We should just
And
get it.
mourners planning together for a 6-hour viewing ahead of a funeral service tomorrow in Houston. Those stories and more
in my
at the
house.
top of the hour. 6:80 news time, 4:54.
Civil shit, nothing to do with criminal law. It's like, oh, fuck, how did I
There
get
was an
into
all-star
this?
virtual commencement for the graduating class of 2020 in the U.S.
Go ahead and bask
I'm
in the
thinking,
glory
oh,
of your
fuck.
cheek.
They're going to say I robbed the crown
one of the
attorney.
dozens of celebs taking part Sunday
Around the corner from my house. How do you know a crown attorney? Well, she lived around the corner from my house. I don't know her, but I don't know. Yeah, you know the fucking things running through my house. I was already on fucking probation and shit.
on the
Bail,
float,
probation,
after
bail,
which
so
the
on.
non-stop pre-recorded performances and messages of congratulations and empowerment came from Beyonce, Alicia Keys, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake, Lady Gaga, Billie Eilish, Jimmy Kimmel. You get the idea. Christopher Watson, ABC News.
And our pets have been getting more attention and more
It
frequent
wouldn't matter what was in the
walks
news.
during
My
the
first thought would have been,
pandemic,
is that
but
how
we
I
might
like it?
not
It
be.
would have been
Things like rolled
it's got
ankles and
nothing to
hurt
do with what's in
shoulders
the
or
news.
dog-like walking injuries that Good Luck Team training specialist Garrett Knox
That
says
was
you
the end of
can
the story.
avoid.
Sorry, that
He
was the end
tells
of the
680
story.
News there are great ways
No,
to
I don't call her up
incorporate
asking
your
for
furry
favors.
friend
How?
into
What can she do
exercises
for me?
that lower your chance of getting hurt.
When you're out walking,
Well, if the government ever tries to sue me, my file might
so
just
you've got to
disappear.
be stretching kind of flat level ground. You could be doing your lunges alongside while you're dog walking. That would be a great way for building stability mobility through the ankles, the knees, the hips.
So you should also focus on strengthening your core, since that's the part of your body that's affected the most when your dog pulls on the leash.
Yeah, I will.
Coming up in 60 seconds, your 680 News business report. 680 News
There was a
time,
Ministry of the Attorney
4:55.
General's visa card.
Ontario, you're
No, I didn't
making a
realize that at
difference to
first.
keep people safe from COVID-19, and we all need to continue our efforts to protect each other. Get tested if you're worried you may have
When I
COVID-19
find the
or
person
have
at
been
the house,
exposed
I
to the
looked at all the
virus.
other cards. in it.
Practice
Oh,
physical
oh,
distancing.
shit.
Stay
Yeah,
2 meters
that's how
apart.
that's
Wear
how
a
it
face
wasn't
covering
just
when
the
physical
name.
distancing is
I
a
had to
challenge,
type in
and
Ministry of the
continue
Attorney
to
General.
wash hands frequently, inside or out. Stay safe.
I'm not
Save
kidding.
lives. Learn more at
could've fucking bought a car that day.
ontario.ca/coronavirus. Paid for by the Government of Ontario.
Save the world. Wear a mask. All of us at CanadaMaskSupply.ca thank you for doing your
Let's do this
part
way.
to
The
protect
woman's name
yourself
is on the
and those
sunshine
around you
list.
by wearing a face mask or face shield. Now we offer a family convenience pack of masks and hand sanitizer, and a commercial convenience pack that includes masks, hand sanitizer, and face shields, both value priced.
And that was
Visit
the
our
year they
website
got
at CanadaMaskSupply.ca
the
for all
man
the
got
details
killed.
and to buy directly.
Carolyn got killed.
680 News Time,
Lou
4:56.
Stewart had
Now
just
time
got
for the
killed.
680 News Business Report.
Timmy
I'm Phil
O'Rourke got
Martino.
killed.
After years in corporate sales, mother of two Miriam Juarez needed a change. She says she always dreamed of running her own business so she combined two things that are very important to her: safe products and reducing waste like
Yeah, I had
plastic
other things on my
packaging.
mind besides
And
trying to
Pretty
rip
Clean
off
Shop
the
was
crap
born.
service.
We offer accessories that will help people lead a sustainable living life. We offer accessories for home, body, personal care, but we also offer a lot of products that are made with safe ingredients that are often locally made, often by female-owned companies.
One of the main features of her business is providing refillable personal care products like body butter and shampoo. Customers can bring in their own containers to be
You know, you
filled
say
with
body
products
butter,
of
I
their
got this
choosing.
weird thing in my head. People that try to eat
We
this.
have been told by
He's not that
customers as
weird.
well how one of the things that we love about the store is that in such a
Not my
small
whole
square
people.
footage,
Some of them
they
been on to
can
keep their
find
enemies.
something
Well, you
for
know they're
everyone
gone
in
for sure,
the
right?
family, for every room in the house, and for every part of the body. An alternative to a single-use plastic item.
But when COVID-19 hit, Juarez had to make some changes. She shifted online and started offering curbside pickup.
If I buy a
also
brand new container and
temporarily put on
reuse
hold
it and shit,
and
that's
bring
fine,
your
but
own
I'm not dropping
container
it off to
bottle.
you, and you're gonna give me back a container, and I'm gonna hope it's the same one. This isn't milk, like we're drinking beer where it's just steamed and thrown back in. No, that's body butter. Think what the person's doing using that container. Now what you're doing. It's like hotel towels.
They get another full one. So it's like a swap of a refill.
Miriam Juarez is the
I
founder
really like the
of
idea
Pretty
of my
Clean
dentist
Shop.
using
At
the
the
same
Business Center,
tools.
I'm Phil
I
Martino.
know they're stainless steel and they get fucking boiled and steamed, but still.
Wow, it's late. I should go. I have class tomorrow. I know I've been drinking, but I don't want to take the bus alone.
If I was wealthier, I would buy him a new set of tools every time. There you go. And you can just keep those.
Safety concerns discourage women from taking
I'm
public
not that wealthy.
transportation after drinking instead of driving. Hey, Jesse, we've both been
And that is a
drinking.
little bit of a
Let's
mental
share a
going. That part
cab.
is a little
You can
bit
crash at my place.
But
Drunk
I
driving
still
is a
think this
women's
shit's
issue
gross.
too. Learn how to reduce the risk at changetheconversation.ca.
The Ontario Secondary
What's the
School
container
Teachers
made of?
Federation
Because it's not
knows that all
plastic, it's
Canadians
glass.
have been
Now you got
affected by
slippery ass
COVID-19, especially
butter
our
that
kids.
you
That's
rubbing.
why Kids Help Phone is there, offering young people free, non-judgmental 24/7
Is it glass?
support by
It's not
phone,
glass,
chat,
is
and
it?
text. The need for
Smash.
Kids Help
Fucking
Phone is greater than ever. Please visit
dying that way.
kidshelpphone.ca.
Not even. You know those moments where you're not gonna die, but you're looking at people's blood and body butter, glass.
Proud supporters of Kids Help
Do I
Phone.
wash off the body butter first to get dressed? Do I stop the bleed? All the ambulance
Emergency
bleeding
services.
everywhere.
With Roto-Rooter's
You
new
better be doing this in your
contact-free
bathroom and not
service,
in your
there's no
bedroom,
need to
man.
delay calling for
How
help
much
with
did you
your
pay for that
basement drain
mattress? You
or
still make
water
a payment,
cleanup
sir.
problem. Call 1-800-GET-ROTO or visit rotorooter.com. Right now,
Of all the
downtown,
businesses,
it's partly
I'm sure
cloudy
there's
and
money in
13
it, just people are
degrees.
weird.
680 News Time, 5 o'clock.
Hold on, what if I want one company to supply the containers, a different company to clean them, and another company's product in them?
Here are Laura Carney and Mitch Burke. Good morning. It's
They do that with
Monday,
Pepsi and
June
Coke,
8th.
why can't they do that with this shit?
News this hour.
Thousands are preparing to pass through a Houston church to
They
say
literally
goodbye to
do that with
George
Pepsi
Floyd
Coke.
today, 2 weeks after the world watched his life end at the hands of a white police officer.
It comes as Minneapolis city councilors acknowledge the current system isn't working, vowing to disband the local police department.
The topic of police
Can you keep the
reform
black
will be
officers?
front and center on Capitol Hill today.
Well,
as
otherwise you just
congressional
unemployed more
Democrats
black.
prepared to table a
The devil's
sweeping
advocate of
bill that
everything.
will do
The
just
devil's
that.
advocate of everything. No, there are some black cops in there go, okay.
Life as provinces keep inching their way back to normal, and it's coming as reopening day arrives in New York City.
Hey, it's just one more on the Floyd
reportedly
Blackman.
having a conference
It's
call
just
today
one more.
to decide whether to renegotiate with the players. They're running out of time.
So I got another sick joke. At least when Dutch were in charge, there was no unemployment.
Record highs. The Nasdaq hit an all-time high Friday. Dow futures up 150 points.
Eventually, I'm going to say it twice.
680 News
Fucking
Time.
knee hurts.
Helena Balka.
Good morning, Mitch and Laura. This
What
report
is going
brought to you
on?
by Area Rug Shop. Well, it is a good drive if you're concerned about anything that's
Every
going
time I
to
say
slow you
something
down right
ignorant,
now
your
because
fucking
of
internet
announcing
cuts
any
out.
delays
Eh? Like,
anywhere,
I know
even though
you're
we still
fucking
have a
with
bit of
me.
construction. Full
And it's
closures
not-
right
it's
now.
not
Not
straight
much on the eastbound
fucking
401 at the
censorship. You guys
404. They have the
fucking
Collector Truck Express transfers closed.
bombarding
Ramp
my
closures on the
IP here, so I know
westbound
what you're
401
doing.
involving the
Pussy
westbound
shit.
401.
Every time I say
Includes the
something you don't like,
northbound
that
Nielsen
isn't
ramp to
illegal, it
westbound
isn't hate
401.
speech, you
The
still
westbound
fucking
401
have
ramp to
something to say.
McAllen and to
Every time I
southbound
say something
Allen.
legit
And the
about
southbound
making real
Allen and
money,
northbound Dufferin ramps to the
oh, why isn't
westbound
he talking
401.
about flipping bricks of
Westbound Finch ramp to
cocaine?
the southbound
Because
400.
they
That
don't
is
flip
also
bricks of
closed for
cocaine. So that's
construction.
no money.
And eastbound Bloor is closed
It's
over
just
court to
being somebody's
Arlington,
fucking
and
slave.
that's for an
What do you think
ongoing
you're making
fire
money?
investigation. Discover what a beautiful rug can do for your outdoor space at Area Rug Shop. For a limited time, all
Buying
outdoor
drugs
rugs
from
are
the
now
cops. The
50%
cops
off.
steal
Visit
from you
one
and then
of
spend
Area
all the
Rug
money
Shop's
locking your
showrooms
ass up.
or
They tax you,
AreaRugShop.ca.
get the money
Next
back.
traffic
You
report
think
at
you're making
5:11 now with the forecast. Jill Taylor.
Good morning. We're in for a beautiful day. Plenty of sunshine.
cops
Guaranteed
steals.
high 22 degrees. For tonight, clear and 14. For today, the guaranteed high
Cops need to
22.
take
For now,
one
a
of
few
the
clouds
reasons they
and
never find
11
enough
degrees.
guns to
680
fucking
News Time,
steal.
5:02.
Fucking know you're gonna rob me.
Thousands of people
So you know
preparing
it a
to
bunch
pass
of times.
through a Houston church to say goodbye to George Floyd today. It comes 2 weeks after the world watched
Like,
his
let's say,
life
what, my
end
bank card
at the
and a
hands
bank
of a
receipt
white
and some
police
cash. Yeah,
officer.
you steal that.
And
I'm
now
gonna
the international movement sparked by his death is marking its most concrete